Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Kyuubi and Naruto were in RWBY. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by ZeroDivisionRaijin and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. A whole new world. Their two roars over the beating water of the waterfall echoed throughout the canyon that was the Valley of the End as their final two attacks collided with a yell of Rasengan from Naruto and Chidori from Sasuke, and at this instant they were both enveloped by a sphere made of pure light. Inside the sphere, it was apparent that Naruto's Rasengan was going to be overpowered simply because, even in his tailed cloak state, he was subconsciously holding back. Well, Kurama would have none of that. I'm giving you more of my chakra, kid. Blow his chest wide open, damn it. The oversized fox yelled into the head of his Jinchuriki as he pumped more chakra into Naruto's coils, inadvertently triggering a whole new mode altogether. Naruto's Rasengan stabilized itself and was powered up by the sudden golden glow of its caster, and Sasuke himself was taken aback by the sudden appearance of Kyuubi chakra mode. The surprised look on his face was suddenly replaced by a contortion of pain as he felt his Chidori break and the destructive sphere of blue chakra rammed straight into his chest. At this point, fuck the promise I made to Sakura. Naruto declared in a demonic voice, opting to drop the regular honorific that he usually attached to Sakura's name. It's not worth the trouble to bring a traitor back. See ya in hell, Sasuke. And with that, Naruto upped the power of his Rasengan by just a minute percentage, and that was enough to both send Sasuke careening back and for his entire chest and back to explode. After the knockback, something strange happened. Sasuke's entire body dissolved into utter nothingness, which brought a look of surprise to Naruto's face as he dropped out of Kyuubi chakra mode. What surprised him even more was the fact that a gaping hole was torn into the fabric of time and space itself, that tear was the sphere of light that he and Sasuke had been trapped in. With no time to react, Naruto was suddenly sucked to the epicenter of the sphere, where he was sent flying into a black void with one last helpless scream. He suddenly felt exhausted. He suddenly felt tired and he was suddenly in a great deal of pain. A scream of agony escaped him and echoed throughout the blackness as he grabbed and groped at the seal on his abdomen. Kyuubi. Naruto gasped out. Kyuubi, what's happening to me? Their coils are being torn apart, kid. Kurama sighed as he realized what was going on. Apparently, I was hasty when I gave you my chakra back there. Not only did you go insane, but you went into a mode that you were nowhere ready to use yet. As a result, your entire chakra network is being torn apart inch by your own chakra. How? How is that possible? Simple, kid. You're not an engine human anymore. The bluntness of that statement shocked Naruto even more than the current pain he was in. What? You're not a human anymore, you're not immortal anymore. How many other ways do you want me to say it? If I'm not human, then just what the hell am I? You're a Hanyu, Naruto. A half-demon. A kitsune, fox, Hanyu, to be more specific. Your human chakra is reacting negatively to this sudden change, but the pain should subside momentarily as your new Hanyu chakra begins to circulate through your coils. And before you ask how this happened, I think I know. When you went into that new mode, you basically became one with me as a sort of pseudo-fusion. In that instant, the balance between your human chakra and my demonic chakra was tipped into the latter's favor and now there's more of it in your system than the former. As your Hanyu chakra spreads, changes will be made to your body. You'll most likely grow fox ears, maybe a set of fangs and claws, but no tails. Other physical changes will include a hefty boost to your strength among other things. Great, Naruto sighed, the pain now dying down. Anything else? You'll most likely gain a demon's lifespan as well. Once you hit at most 20, you'll stop aging, and from there, you'll have an absurd amount of years to live, stretching into the thousands. If you had become a full demon, then I'd say you would live indefinitely, just as long as you don't receive a katana to the heart or brain. Other than that, your healing factor will be sped up as well, and your chakra reserves will be boosted to an appropriate level. But of course, all of this won't just happen overnight. It will take time for all of this to occur. As it stands, I'd estimate around 5 years for the big changes to take place and about another 5 for everything to settle. That's assuming I even make it out of this limbo. I can sense another world near, kid. Let's just hope we're sucked into its range. You're being awfully nice to me all of a sudden. What happened to wanting to eat me alive? I just find you more interesting now, kid. You're turning into a kitsune and I might feel like I have an obligation to protect you now. Excuse me if I'm not jumping for joy right now. Just shut up and brace yourself, kid. This is gonna be a rough entry. And indeed it was rough. Naruto had broken through the barrier between his limbo and this new world and immediately found himself falling at a rapid pace towards a small forest. Thinking quickly, he immediately focused some chakra to his legs and feet and braced himself for impact with the tree he was coming upon. After a loud thud, he safely jumped off of one of the limbs and down onto another, where he then leapt one last time and grabbed onto another branch, executed a full upwards rotation around it, and let go at the bottom of the arc in order to land on the forest floor no worse for wear. How my reaction time has improved. Naruto mused aloud. Well, it has been a couple of days since we were ejected from our world, Kurama idly pointed out. What? Naruto exclaimed after a few seconds of silence. It didn't even feel like it while we were in limbo. Time flows differently in limbo, Naruto. Pretty soon, you're probably gonna collapse from starvation and dehydration, so you might want to find civilization soon. And no sooner did Naruto take a step forward did he fall to his knees as the aftereffects of traveling through limbo hit him full force. He was suddenly very hungry and very thirsty. He barely had enough energy to crawl forward by just a few feet until he began to black out, with the last things he saw were a few blurry figures circling him. Unknown location. Some time later. Groaning a bit, Naruto finally opened his eyes to find himself in a modest-sized room and laying in a rather comfortable bed and, strangely enough, he wasn't dehydrating anymore. He found that he was hella hungry, but thirsty he was not. And about the time that he realized this, the door to his room opened and in stepped a rather unassuming girl that he figured was about his age. She had long black hair, matching black cat ears, striking yellow eyes, and she was holding a tray of food. "Oh, you're awake?" the girl asked, seemingly in surprise. "Wow. The doctor said you'd be out for another day, at least." To Naruto's surprise, he could actually understand what she was saying. He just chalked it up to his Hanyu blood adapting him to the linguistics of the people of this world. "Was it that bad?" Naruto asked in perfect English. "You had gone a couple of days without food or water, what do you think?" She sardonically replied as she set the tray on the small table that was in the room and sat down, then began eating her own food, which Naruto raised an eyebrow at. "I brought enough for us both, since I haven't had breakfast yet," she clarified. "I guess I should be thanking you," Naruto stated as he swung himself out of bed and joined his guest at the table. "Considering we saved your life, it'd be a nice place to start. I'm Naruto, by the way. Uzumaki Naruto. Lake Belladonna. And I suppose you don't know where you're at currently?" "Nope," Naruto said between bites of his food. "Not a clue." "Well, I guess I should be the first to welcome you to the White Fang." "What's the White Fang? And you didn't really tell me where I am." "We're at one of our hideouts right now, just outside of Atlas. And the White Fang is, to sum it up, an organization made of faunus who have had enough of being treated like third-rate citizens by the humans." Kurama hummed to himself. "So, we're in that world. No wonder I felt a sense of familiarity with this place." "What's a faunus?" Naruto asked, trying to push his tenant's voice out of his head. The look Blake gave him was priceless. "You must be joking." "Say I wasn't." "What then?" "But you're a faunus yourself. Why else would you have those fox ears?" His brain suddenly went into overdrive once again, as he couldn't very well let it be known that he was from an entirely different world, so where I came from, it was mostly made up of humans. They would beat me, berate me, spit on me, trample me, they'd call me all sorts of wicked and demeaning names, just because of these. Naruto half-lied as he gestured to his ears. "My parents died when I was a baby, or so I've been told. Until now, I didn't even know that there was a proper term for what I am." "What?" Blake began, unbelieving and slightly shaking with rage at the blonde's story. "What did you think you were, if not a faunus?" "I thought I was what the people had called me most. Demon." "And that was it?" Blake had had enough. "Oh my god, Naruto, I'm so sorry," she said, choking back a sob. "I just recently escaped from that place. Actually, I was forced out by my best friend. We fought and well, he ended up dying. I killed him." "Your only friend?" "I had others, but the one that I killed was more like a brother to me than anyone or anything else. I've been on the run since, which is probably why you found me in a dehydrated state and soaked in blood." Blake couldn't believe what she was hearing. Never in her life would she have thought she would meet someone so unlucky and so broken. "Naruto, I really am sorry. God, you've been through a lifetime's worth of pain and sorrow. Which is why I'm glad your organization found me." He managed a smile that brought a light blush to Blake's face. "Now I can start over, you know. I have a chance at a new life, new beginnings. Even after everything you've been through, you can still smile this brightly and you still have hope for the future," Blake stated in awe. "Naruto, I just met you and already, you've proven yourself an amazing person. Thank you for listening, Blake. It felt good to talk about this stuff." "You're lucky." She managed to chuckle. "Usually, I'm reading my books, but you caught me at a good time. More like I woke up just in time to have this conversation. At any rate, should I be given a tour of this place, or?" "Yeah. If you're finished eating, then let's go." The tour was as Naruto expected. Dull, but at least he learned his way around the place and met a few of the White Fang operatives. What he wasn't expecting was a dissatisfied sigh from Blake. "You okay, Blake? You seem distracted," he asked as he stuffed his hands into his pockets. "Yeah, it's just never mind. I don't want to trouble you." "Hey, I troubled you with my story. The least I could do to repay your attentiveness is to listen to yours. Well, I've been thinking about leaving the White Fang lately for a formal education. I hear that there's a rather non-discriminative school on a little island called Patch that's just off the coast of Vale. Signal Academy, I think it's called. So why don't you go?" "I guess I've been building up the courage to leave, but I don't know." She paused to sigh. "I feel like I belong here, you know." What if I said I don't feel like I belong here?" "Why wouldn't you?" she asked in mild surprise. "Don't get me wrong, it's nice to know that there are others like me out here, but I just feel like seeing the world. And now that you've mentioned this place called Signal, it's piqued my interest. I feel like if I go there, I could get more accomplished than staying with this organization. I don't know. I'm a Faunus, I want better for my species, and I feel like the White Fang can help with that goal." "I understand, Blake, but I just can't stay here. I need to get out and explore, I need to see the world." "Oh okay," Blake suddenly said, a hint of sadness to her voice. "Well, the exit is that way. Send my thanks to whoever saved me, and goodbye, Blake. I'm sorry I can't stay." "As am I, bye, Naruto." And with a farewell said, Naruto turned on his heel and headed for the exit, unaware that Blake's sharp yellow eyes were on his back the entire time. "You ready for this new adventure, kid?" Kurama asked from inside Naruto's head. "Yeah." Naruto whispered back to his tenant. "We have quite the adventure ahead of us, that's for sure, but it's nothing we can't handle." Chapter 2. 3 years is a long time. What was that annoying ringing? Why was it so damn loud? Why would it drag him from his bed? What time was it, anyway? No matter. Just answer the damn thing already. Such was Naruto's thought process as he groaned and lazily reached over with his right hand to his nightstand for his scroll. After a yawn and finally opening his eyes, Naruto saw who was calling and let out another groan before answering. "It's 7:30 in the goddamn morning, asshole." He rudely addressed the caller. "You better have a damn good reason for waking me up or I'm gonna punch you in the throat." "Correction. It's 7:30 on a Saturday," came the jovial reply of a girl on the other end of the line. "So, I thought I'd wake your ass up so you can come chill with us." "Ellie?" Naruto groaned, realizing his mistake. "Where the hell is Iago? Did you steal his scroll again?" "Ellie? Give that back." Came another voice, this one belonging to a male. I called him first. "On my scroll." "Fuck you. Fuck you twice, now give me my scroll back." Naruto just stared blankly at his ceiling as a scuffle seemed to ensue over the line, while the one now identified as Iago fought for his scroll. His eyes slowly drifted shut until Iago's voice came over the line. "Sorry about that, Elle stole my scroll again. She could have called me on hers, I hope she knows that." Naruto yawned out. "She knows. I don't know, man. I just don't know what's going through her head sometimes. So, she said something about chilling today. And I assume that since you and Els are back in town, then Topaz and Garnet are as well." "That's an affirmative, or at least, they'll be here in a few hours. I heard that Frost is also showing up." "The old crew back together, eh?" Naruto suddenly cracked a smile. "I see now why Els woke me up at this hour. I know that tone, Naruto. You're planning something. This line's unsecured. Best not spoil it until we all meet in person." "Ah. Gotcha. Well, now that you're up, you gonna come by the business?" "Yeah. I'm on my way. See you there." After hanging up and powering down his scroll, Naruto tossed down onto his bed as he got up and promptly entered his morning routine. After this was done, he then laid out his attire and put it all on. Said attire consisted of a maroon red short-sleeved shirt that had an image of a dragon's head inlaid into the fabric and black cargo pants which had armor plating overlaying the knee sections of the pants, black steel-toed boots, black fingerless gloves that had steel plates on the backs of the hands and had a solid electric blue circle upon the palms that seemed to split off into 5 lines, one for each finger, a utility belt that had his old Konoha Hittite headband as its belt. A silver amulet which had a ruby etched in as its centerpiece, and a black leather duster which had a red fabric sewn into its interior, and another pair of glowing electric blue stylized lightning bolts running down the length of the arms. After dressing, he soon left his rather immodest apartment in favor of the parking lot of the apartment complex, where a smile crept upon his face upon laying eyes on his car, his baby. It was a pitch-black 4-door Impala, think of the Impala from Supernatural. Sure, it was an older model of car, but Naruto, ever since ending up in the world of Remnant 3 years ago, had an eye for the classics, especially when it came to cars. Of course, it also came with a few modifications such as armor plating under the metal of the doors, hood and trunk, bulletproof windows, bulletproof run-flat tires, a reinforced chassis, a supercharged engine, a few more luxurious features for the interior. This beauty of a car also had a name, which was Ansatsu, assassination. Promptly, Naruto unlocked his car, started it up and began his drive to the business, which was an unassuming bar which was tucked away inside the red light district of Vale City. Nobody ever caused trouble in or around the bar because, well, quite frankly, Naruto owned damn near the entire district and he was currently in a friendly rivalry with the boss of the industrial district, Junior Xiong. After a drive, Naruto pulled into the parking lot and parked his car, and when he entered his bar, he was greeted by a glomp, of which he was able to survive intact. The sound of happy laughing soon filled his ears, followed by the impact of another body against his, and his vision was impaired by 2 mops of raven black hair. "Naruto," came the voice of one of the people, a girl. "We missed you," another girl said through her very happy giggles. "Topaz, Garnet, good to see you two again," Naruto said while chuckling at the twins. Topaz and Garnet Evans were twin sisters of 17, soon to be 18. Topaz was a girl who stood at around 5'7" in contrast to Naruto's 5'10", she was lightly tanned and had stunning cyan blue eyes, with her hair being stark black and it reached down to her shoulder blades, while her bust measured out at around a high B or low C cup. Her attire consisted of a short-sleeved white shirt that had the image of a black lightning bolt emblazoned in the chest and black sparks along the hem, black cargo shorts with a utility belt sat upon her waist. Black wristbands sat upon both of her wrists and chain mesh segments covered her elbows, with another pair of mesh segments covering her knees and her right shin. Her footwear consisted of simple white and black sneakers, while she had an amulet that was similar to Naruto's, except the crystal was a blue topaz. Garnet was a mirror image of her sister, save for the fact that her hair was cut a bit shorter, her bust measured out at a mid-C cup, and her attire was different. She had on a sleeveless black muscle shirt which clung to her frame and nicely outlined her curves and had the same lightning bolt design that Topaz's shirt had, but in white, black jeans, black sneakers, a utility belt of the same make and model of Naruto's and Topaz's, white wristbands on both of her wrists. Chain mesh segments on her right elbow, an amulet that was similar to Topaz's and Naruto's, except for the fact that it had a garnet as its stone and a white zip-up jacket that had a pair of black lines running down the lengths of the arms. 2 years without seeing us and you're this excited? Garnet pouted. Come on, Naru. At least act like you're glad to see us. Topaz agreed with her sister. You know why he's holding back, pause. Came the voice of Iago as he and Ellie entered from the back. Iago was a man who stood at around 5'8", he had light brown hair, striking green eyes, and his attire consisted of a steel plate chest piece and steel shoulder guards on top of a red long-sleeved shirt that was topped with steel arm guards and was tucked into a pair of black cargo pants, which were in turn tucked into a pair of black boots, while under his chest armor sat an amulet that was also like Naruto's, Topaz's and Garnet's, save for the gem being an emerald. Ellie was a fair-skinned girl who stood at 5'6", had deep purple eyes, long strawberry blonde hair that was tied back into a ponytail and reached down to just under her shoulder blades, and her bust being just slightly bigger than Topaz's. Her attire consisted of a black tank top that clung to her figure, a red and white hoodie that she's left unzipped and that had steel plates over the shoulders, black skinny jeans and black boots, with an amulet that matched her 4 friends, except that her gem was an amethyst. Why, Iago? Topaz asked, genuinely curious. Because he's an LOOOOVELE finished for Iago, and she was successful in bringing a blush to both Naruto and Topaz's face, while also gaining a laugh from Garnet. Shut up, the both of you. Naruto blurted while trying to manage an angry face, but only succeeded in making all present, save for Topaz, laugh. Getting the party started without me, are you? Came a voice from the entrance. Frost. Naruto exclaimed upon seeing him. Immediately, Frost found himself on the receiving end of the same pair of glumps that Naruto received. Frost stood at an equal height to Naruto and had icy blue eyes, bleach white hair that seemed to be just as spiky as the blonde's, he had a vertical scar going down his chin and a horizontal one that went across his left cheek towards his chin. His attire consisted of a black dress shirt which was tucked into a pair of white dress pants, white dress shoes, a white tie, a white suit jacket, a black belt which had a silver belt buckle, and etched into said buckle was the image of a crescent moon and a white overcoat which was open at the moment. Around the right arm of the overcoat was a black armband which sported an image of the saber-tooth maw, and adorning the collar, which was currently turned down, were 3 black symmetrical stars which when combined with the saber-tooth maw motif, identified him as a former member of Atlas Special Forces. Underneath the white suit, though, was an amulet that was an echo of the ones his friends had, save for the one fact that it held a diamond as its centerpiece. As striking and immaculate that his suit was, the thing that drew the most attention was the pair of white fox ears atop his head, which blended in almost perfectly with his hair and also identified him as a faunus. Hey, Frost exclaimed. I'm being mugged. He humorously added, his smile not dropping. Mugged of all your love. Garnet confirmed through her many giggles. It shall be ours. Topaz agreed with her sister. They already took mine, Frost, so watch out. Naruto chided the twins on. Oh Muggy Ago, I beg of you. Don't steal my love. I need it. Leave me out of this, thank you very much. Iago chuckled while watching the spectacle. Eventually, the twins ceased their mugging, and once they did, Frost stepped up to Naruto and the two fist bumped. Heard the crew was getting back together, didn't think to see you here though, Naru. Things have changed since we all split up, Frost. This is my bar now and I'm more or less a mob boss. This is my district. Damn. Frost whistled. Our last job pay off that well for you? Oh, I managed this with just a fraction of the take from the last job. The money helped, but it was mostly just me and my skills. You still really are the architect, boss. A smirk then graces Frost's features as he and Naruto shared another fist bump. Well, everyone's here, which means we can get down to it now. Naruto declared as he gestured for his crew to follow him into the back rooms. So, what was so important that you couldn't say it over an unsecured line? Queried Iago, and this question piqued everyone else's interest. I assume you all remember how we all met, right? At Signal, of course. Ellie answered. And I assume you remember how we got into our line of work. We left Signal after we all exhausted it of all we could learn and moved on to better prospects. Frost answered this time. You were at our head, our de facto leader as it were. You thought we could use our skills we learned at Signal for the betterment of humanity as a whole, and so we all agreed to turn our skills as hunters and huntresses into skills used for heists of all kinds, ranging from banks to weapons depots and even dust companies. Our first heist was an armory that belonged to the White Fang, and that's where we got most of the components necessary to create our own weapons. Garnet continued the exposition. Our second heist was a small-time bank in Vacuo, and we used that money to get us on our feet as a legitimate organization. Frost was tasked with managing our inside tracks with the kingdoms, Iago was appointed your second in command, Ellie and I were both tasked with weapon maintenance, while Topaz was our bookkeeper and liaison between the other organizations in the world. And what happened to break us all apart? Naruto asked as he opened another door, which led into the back room, which was where the booze and spare glasses were stored. Our last heist. Iago answered as he took a seat at the table which was in the middle of the room. We hit the main bank of Atlas, the one which manages the Atlesian military's finances and holds most of its investments and transactions. It was successful and the take was huge, but like always, we took 30% to split amongst ourselves and distributed the other 60% to those who needed it. That one heist got us a major heat from the Atlesian military which I'm sure hasn't died out yet. We, as a group, decided that it was in our best interest to part ways for a while to let the heat die down. It's been 2 years and here we all are once again. And I hope this entire exposition leads into why we're all back together, Ellie smirked at her whiskered friend, who returned the smirk to the lot of them. Oh, it does. Naruto said, his smirk not falling. We're gonna hit up one last location for one last heist, and this one's gonna be our biggest yet. I knew it. Iago chuckled. About time if you ask me. Frost nodded. Hell yeah. We're at it again. Ellie exclaimed while thrusting her fist skyward. So, what are we hitting? Topaz asked. We're heading back to Atlas for this one. And as to what we're hitting up, well, Naruto paused to turn around to face the whiteboard behind him and promptly tore the drapes that were obscuring what was written on it. All at once, a pall of stunned silence fell upon the group of friends. You've gotta be kidding me, Topaz muttered. This is big. Really big. Garnet agreed with her sister. Oh, Frost began to chuckle. I fucking love you right now. Our target. Schnee headquarters in Atlas, the beating heart of the Schnee Dust Company. Money, dust, weapons, weapon components, experimental technology, this place has it all. It's the gold mine we've had our eye on for a long time now, but never did plan a heist against it because, simply put, it was impossible and the place nigh impregnable organizations and crime syndicates have tried and failed, but where they failed, we shall succeed. Well, are you all in? Naruto then took a few steps back from the table to give his friend some time to consider their options and choices. You know I'm in, Naru. Frost said with an affirmative nod. Ellie agreed. This one seems interesting, suicidal and reckless, but interesting all the same. Count me in. Iago confirmed with a smirk. Twins? Frost asked. After a few moments of contemplation, the two girls smiled and at the same time intoned. Hell yes. Well, alright then. Naruto said with a smile. Now, this is the plan. The next few hours were spent going over the plans, revisions to the plans and revisions to those revisions. In all, a good 5 hours passed before they all agreed to break for lunch, and by that time, the noon and afternoon crowds of the bar had arrived. Iago and Topaz had gone out to retrieve everyone's lunch, while Frost tried his hand at bartending, since he literally looked like a bartender. Naruto, Ellie and Garnet, however, were working overtime in the back room on the plans. Straight through lunch they three worked and into the wee hours of the night. By the time they all emerged from the back room, Naruto was treated to the sight of his night crowd showing up, plus Iago and Topaz hustling a game of pool. Frost was still doing his bartending thing. Work well spent, I guess, Naruto wearily sighed before a chuckle. You two go and take a break. I need to manage my bar. Gladly. Ellie sighed as she collapsed into a bar stool, followed by Garnet. Things are running smoothly today, boss. Said the real bartender as Naruto approached. Thanks, as always, Butch. Naruto thanked the dog Franus, who was both the real bartender of the establishment and the primary manager when Naruto wasn't around. Nah, man. You gave me this opportunity. Anything I can do to repay you, I'll do it. Butch then paused to sniff at the air, an action Naruto mirrored. Attitude and lots of leather incoming. Naruto chuckled as he walked to behind the bar and took out a shot glass and a bottle of whiskey, then promptly poured himself a shot. Did you smell oranges, or was that just me? I actually smelled lemons. Did you two smell lime-laced leather? Frost asked from the far side of the bar. How 3 different fruits? When they enter, my money's on oranges. Butch chuckled. On cue, the bouncers at the front doors let in a blonde stunner of a girl who was wearing very immodest clothing. Blonde hair, lilac eyes, brown, yellow and orange color scheme, no mistaking it, this girl was. Yang. Naruto exclaimed after spraying out his second shot of whiskey. Naruto. The now identified Yang also exclaimed before a bright smile graced her previously shocked features. I'll be damned. In a split second, Naruto hopped the bar, ran over to the blonde, and scooped her into his arms in a crushing hug that she also returned. I didn't think I'd see you again, yet here you are. Naruto said through his chuckles. Hey, you all but walked out on both Signal and me. I was the one that wasn't sure if I was gonna see you again. She then punched his arm and giggled. Damn glad to see you, though. Hell yeah. Naruto then paused to look around. Wait, you're here, but where's Ruby? Left her back at our apartment. Yang said with a shrug. Thought I'd go bar hopping tonight, though not to get wasted. Why, then? Info. I heard that an information broker lives in this part of town, and I thought I'd track him down. I'm looking for her. Your mom? Naruto asked, feeling the tone shift. You'll find her, Yang, eventually. I know. She bitterly sighed. I know I'm close to something now, all I need to do is find this broker. You must be talking about Junior, the whiskered blonde muttered. He's an information broker, alright. If anyone knows about her, he's your best bet. He's not here. No, try a district over. The red light district is all mine. Horndog. She snickered. Look who's talking. Naruto shot back with a smirk. Bitch. Jerk. Shut up. I can do this all day, babe. Don't I know it? At this point, the pair of blondes had leaned into each other, their faces mere inches apart, and this spectacle had garnered them a bit of attention in the form of Frost chuckling rather loudly, Iago following his suit, Ellie making kissy faces in the corner, and the Evans twins glaring daggers at the female of the two blondes. Quickly, Naruto cleared his throat and pulled away from Yang, who couldn't help but lightly groan in protest. Junior's a district over, like I said, Naruto managed to say through his blush. Yeah, Yang sighed before turning on her heel and tossing a wave back at her fellow blonde. Hopefully I'll see you around, Naru. Been good seeing you again. Watch yourself, Yang. And don't rough up Junior, he's a good friend of mine. Yeah. Caution is my middle name. As soon as Yang was gone, Naruto managed a heavy sigh before pulling out his scroll and dialing a number. Junior. Yeah, it's me. You got a walking destruction derby headed your way, might want to get Torchwick out of there pronto if he's still there. He just had a feeling things were about to get a lot more interesting and a lot more violent for the club owner. Chapter 3. Old Friends and Old Problems. Did this really have to happen tonight, Roman? Naruto groaned as he and about a dozen of his men were following Roman and his goons. I know you had prior plans, Naruto. Roman began while twirling his cane by the handle. But let's face it. You gotta start small again if you wanna work up towards the big leagues. So Junior told you about the heist, I see. The blonde sighed, not at all surprised that an information broker of Junior's caliber would know of the heist plans. Indeed he did, my friend. Just look at it like this. I'm your coach and I'm getting you ready for that prize fight. Oi, you still owe me one for warning Junior to get you out of his club before Yang showed up. You saw the damage estimates, I assume. Yeah. This time the older man sighed. Gonna set him back plenty, but Junior's resourceful, he'll rebound. And to think, if I didn't call, you'd probably be plastered into a wall. You give me too little credit, Blondie. I could have handled her. Right? Naruto snorted as he glanced to his left. Looks like this is where we part ways for now, first dust shop over there. You know where to meet up, right? From dusk till dawn, I remember. See you on the other side then, kid. At Naruto splitting off from Roman, his goons also did the same. They faithfully followed their boss across the street and into the dust shop, but not before Naruto pulled up the half-face mask that was around his neck in order to obscure the lower half of his face. His henchmen went in first in order to secure the shop, while a couple went around the shop and entered through the back entrance in order to shut down the security cameras around the shop, as well as retrieve the recordings of them entering, while Naruto and 3 other goons entered after the all clear was signaled. Don't worry, sir. Naruto reassured the panicking store owner. We're just here for your dust, you can keep your money. We'll only take what we need. There is no need to fear. The poor shopkeeper managed only one shaky nod as Naruto's men went to work filling their bags and containers full of the store's supply of dust. Cleaned out, boss. One goon called back to Naruto. In response, Naruto nodded before pulling out his scroll and dialing a number. First stop's been cleared, bring the van. He spoke to the person on the other end of the line. After ending the call and sliding his scroll back into his pocket, he turned and regarded the shopkeeper one last time. As you can see, quick and painless. We'll now be out of your hair, have a good night, sir. As Naruto and his posse exited the shop with their haul, one could find the shopkeeper deflating in relief that the thieves were now gone, while outside, an inconspicuous-looking black van came pulling up and the rear doors flew open, revealing 3 other goons and Frost. This the first haul? Frost asked as he, too, pulled up a face mask. Yeah. We got more than expected from this stop. You got the extra bags and containers. Naruto responded as he passed a couple of the bags to one of his goons, who in turn placed them into the van. That's an affirmative. Need a couple of my boys to stay behind with your group. Actually yeah, could help things go a lot smoother. You too. Frost called out to 2 of the goons who were helping load the van. You're with the boss now. After voicing their compliance, the 2 goons went back to loading the van, which took only a couple more minutes. After the dust was loaded, Frost and the other 2 goons climbed back into the van. Like last time, keep out of sight and wait for my call. Naruto said to his Snow Fox Fronis counterpart, who snorted with a smirk. Yes, mom. Should I be home in time for dinner as well? Kiss my ass. Naruto shot back with a smirk of his own. Oh me. Frost responded before cackling with laughter when Naruto slammed the van door in his face, which was a signal for the driver to start driving away. Alright, boys, Naruto sighed while stifling his chuckles. Let's hit up another shop, shall we? And so they did. After a solid 2 hours of hitting up shop after shop, their haul of both dust and lean were staggering, with the former being the bulk of their hauls. After loading up the dust and money into the van one last time, Naruto and his boys finally made their way through town to the shop that Roman had designated as their meet-up point. Just as they approached, Naruto froze mid-step and began to sniff at the air. Smell something, boss? One of the goons asked. I smell cookies. Naruto responded, confusion lacing his voice just as the front window of the establishment broke, thanks to 2 bodies flying through it, one of them being Roman's hired help from Junior, and the other being a girl of 15 years old, who had on a gothic-type dress, complete with a corset. Her color scheme was black and red, she had red hair, and an overly large scythe weight. Naruto recognized this girl, and as soon as that recognition settled into his mind, he went into action. Roman, pull your men back, now. He called out to his partner in crime. Let me handle this. You heard him, get back. Roman barked to his boys. Watch an actual professional at work, boys, and take notes. You might learn a few things. Seeing that her current opponents were backing off, the girl rounded on the one approaching her, and she leveled her scythe at him. Now, Ruby. Naruto drawled, a smirk hidden underneath his mask. Is that any way to treat an old friend? He finished by pulling down his face mask to reveal his whiskers. Naruto. Ruby blurted out, taken completely off guard. It took everything she had to not drop her scythe and tackle him into a hug then and there, but her shock helped with it. He was a criminal now. You're working with these people? In a sense, yes. Naruto confirmed. I'll not go into detail about it right now, but all you need to know is you're standing between us and our goals. I'll give you one chance to walk away, Ruby. Out of respect for both you and Yang, I'll let you walk away unharmed right now, and please take it. Ruby was no fool, she could hear the pleading tone, the desperation in Naruto's voice. He really didn't want to fight her, and she knew that he wouldn't ally himself with people like Roman without a reason, but those reasons be damned, he was going down the wrong path. He was one of her closest and dearest friends. She wouldn't just sit idly by and watch him ruin himself. With her red locks shadowing her eyes, she gave her answer. I'm not running away, Naru, I'm gonna fight you, here and now. You've chosen the wrong path and I'm gonna drag you back, even if I have to beat you to a pulp. I'm not giving up on you. I'm not giving up on who you used to be. She could feel tears threatening to spill over at the thought of having to fight him, but in her mind, she was in the right, she thought Naruto needed saving, and she thought she'd be the one to do it. So that's why I'm not running away. I'll save you, I swear. RWBY. Naruto managed to breathe out, flashbacks of how he was going to bring Sasuke back to Konoha flashing through his head. He could see his old self in RWBY at that moment, he could see his determination, the fire he had, and the will to never give up, even in the face of someone who was, by all rights, superior to himself. He saw that same will, that same determination, lit up in RWBY's stunning silver eyes right now, as well as the tears that were now flowing freely. With a sad chuckle, Naruto managed a fake smile. I'm sorry, RWBY, I broke my promise to you. Forgive me, please, for breaking my promise, and for this. He then pointed his right hand at the redeed and suddenly, both the blue circle on his glove, as well as the blue bolts on the sleeve of his duster, began to glow, and all at once, 5 separate arcs of lightning shot from his fingertips, heading right towards RWBY, who sidestepped the dust-based attack and dashed at him at speeds that others found difficult to track. Naruto, however, could see her clear as day, and he managed to lean to his left away from a downward arcing swing from Crescent Rose. Not missing a beat, RWBY fired off a round from the sniper's side to aid a retaliatory roundhouse swing, using both the momentum of the missed swing and the added boost from the shot to bring the blade of her weapon around once again to bear on the blonde. He could see that RWBY was fighting desperately, perhaps a bit too desperately, as she was leaving an alarming number of gaps and holes into her usually impeccable defense, and he took advantage of one of those holes. Raising his left foot, Naruto added a bit of his chakra to it and intercepted the horizontal swing with minimal blowback from the rather considerable impact of metal on the rubber of his boot. Once the attack was intercepted, Naruto promptly grabbed the haft of the scythe with his left hand and charged an amount of his clothing's lightning dust into the palm of his right hand. This is it, RWBY, lights out. Naruto declared as he thrust his right palm forward towards her head, intent on overloading her sensory system to knock her out, but RWBY had other plans. With a click, she let go of Crescent Rose as another shot was fired. With her letting go of the weapon, the recoil was sending it careening backwards on an impact trajectory, with the whole of the blonde's back. Suddenly, Naruto found himself between a rock and a hard place. Either he ducks and RWBY is hit by her own weapon, or he takes the hit, along with all of the potential injuries. After thinking it over, Naruto inwardly cursed before grabbing for the object notched on his left hip. The sound of cold steel being blocked filled the air and, after seeing what happened, a small smirk graced RWBY's features. I made you use it, Naru. She said victoriously. There stood Naruto with a still-sheathed katana resting in his right hand, and said katana was currently blocking the side. Said katana had a midnight black sheath, a matching midnight black guard which was shaped into the Konoha symbol, a silver pommel which had a blue tassel hanging from it, and hanging from the end of the tassel was a stylized flame design that was colored a brighter color of blue than the tassel itself. The wrappings of the katana were midnight black as well, and the underlying ray skin was colored bark blue, but nothing could be seen of the blade as it was still sheathed. But you didn't make me draw it. Naruto shot back. And you never will see me draw it. With a flourish, Naruto freed himself of the immediate threat of being decapitated and jumped away from the younger girl in order to put some distance between them. After landing, he crouched slightly, settling into an Edo stance while RWBY reloaded Crescent Rose and propped it upon her shoulder. Both knew what was about to happen. A test of speed, RWBY's semblance against Naruto's natural speed. The onlookers could see an amount of wind being kicked up behind RWBY, which was most likely her building up energy, and if one looked very, very carefully, one could see a light blue glow around Naruto's feet, which was him focusing chakra to those extremities. And then boom. 2 miniature explosions echoed throughout the streets of Vale City as the blonde and Redeed dashed at each other with all the speed they could muster, and it was like they all blinked at the same time. At one moment, they were yards apart from each other, and the next, they had traded places with Naruto standing in front of the dust shop and RWBY standing where he was just standing seconds earlier. A rip then appeared on the right shoulder of Naruto's duster, followed by a red liquid pouring down the length of his right arm and dripping onto the sidewalk below. Yes, this was Naruto's blood. RWBY had managed to cut him. And RWBY herself. Once time caught up with her, she had fallen face first onto the concrete, knocked out cold, Crescent Rose landing beside her seconds later with a clatter. No one saw what had happened because, frankly, what had happened was too fast for anyone to track, except for Roman, who had caught glimpses of that crucial moment. Naruto, at the last moment, had taken his hand off the hilt of his katana and had charged it with more of his clothes lightning dust, and he had managed to catch Ruby with its shock by hitting her square in the chest, but in doing so, he left his right arm open to a Nicola crescent rose. After hearing Ruby fall to the ground, Naruto notched his katana back to his left him using only his left hand, as he couldn't exactly feel his right arm at the moment, and once that deed was done, he spared a glance back at his former friend's unconscious form, sadness filling his gaze. "Well done, my boy." Roman cheered as he came walking up to the blonde. "Gotta get that wound looked at, but well done all the same. Were you all taking notes? That is how you handle a nuisance." "Let's go, Roman," Naruto managed to say. "She cut my right arm to the bone, I can't move it, and the authorities are certainly on their way right now." "Right as always, kid." Roman sighed while twirling his cane. "Alright you lot, take what you can and follow us." Naruto, Roman and their men then took to the rooftops not a moment too soon, as just as they left, police cars came driving up en masse, with their first concern being the unconscious form of Ruby Rose. Meanwhile, Roman could be heard cackling with laughter as they made their escape. "Despite that kid there, this was a more than successful operation." He laughed. "She was a former friend of mine," Naruto said as he ran beside Roman while holding his still limp right arm. "We went to signal together, we knew each other from that time before my crew and I walked out." "Well, at least that explains why you wanted to take care of her personally. Saved me the trouble, actually." The older man shrugged. Just then, a bullhead rose into view as the side door promptly opened. With a wave of his hand, Naruto directed his men to separate and to head for their rendezvous point, while Roman's men helped load up the dust and lean they managed to steal. Just as the last bags were loaded, a woman with blonde hair and glasses came sauntering up and promptly sent the mooks flying with one wave of her riding crop that she was now brandishing. "Huntress," Naruto and Roman said at the same time before filing onto the bullhead post-haste. "We got a huntress," Roman yelled to the pilot, who then got up and handed control of the craft to Roman, who took the pilot's seat just as the blonde woman began bombarding their VTOL with what Naruto assumed was her semblance. The VTOL lurched and shook, and the aforementioned pilot stumbled a few times before her yellow-orange eyes fell upon Naruto. "Naruto?" she asked, silently asking if he was able to deal with the opposing huntress. With only a nod, Naruto stood from his seat and stood beside her as both of their clothes began to glow blue and yellow respectively. With an upwards thrust of his fist, Naruto had multiple arcs of lightning fly out of the ground below the other blonde huntress, while the pilot woman added her fire dust into the mix in the form of lava eruptions. The huntress had managed to backflip out of the way, but she found herself dodging yet again when Naruto launched more arcs of lightning out of his fingertips. While Naruto's lightning was keeping the huntress busy, the pilot woman launched a fireball out of her hand, which impacted against a barrier that the huntress managed to put up just in the nick of time. The fireball, however, had turned into lava droplets at the last second, and with an action that mirrored Naruto's upwards arm thrust, said lava droplets exploded upwards into more lava eruptions. Backflipping out of the way once again, the huntress then readied her riding crop and began telekinetically lifting up the shards of leftover obsidian, but before she could launch them at the bullhead, she felt something pierce her abdomen. With a glance down, she saw a bright blue sword-like beam of what she assumed was lightning extending from her abdomen all the way up to Naruto's left hand, and he was staring directly at her with the eyes of a cold-hearted killer. After coughing up an amount of blood, the previously floating obsidian shards clattered to the ground as she followed them, landing face up with blood still leaking from the corners of her mouth. "Chidori Iso, Chidori Sharp Spear," Naruto softly named his attack, his voice barely above a whisper as he cut chakra flow to his hand, thus ending the Chidori variant. "Let's go, she's not getting up from that." And so the bullhead lurched once again and began to fly away from the scene, and Naruto's view of the huntress was cut short thanks to the side door of the bullhead closing. After a sigh, he plopped down into one of the crew seats, followed by the pilot woman. "You got serious this time, Naruto." She spoke while brushing a few strands of her coal black hair out of her face. "And you were toying around with her, Cinder." Naruto returned the light jab. "Color me guilty." The now identified Cinder merely said as she leaned back into the seat. "Though I didn't know you had mastered control of your clothing's dust inlays to the point of creating near-perfect replicas of existing weapons. Call it determined training." The blonde managed to chuckle through his expert lie. "Besides, it got us free of that huntress, right?" "Indeed," Cinder said with a nod. "Well, whatever the case, the operation was a success. You and your crew came through for us once again, it seems." "You know me, Miss Fall always the reliable one," Naruto said, a slight teasing tone to his voice which made Cinder chuckle. What could he say? He saw an opportunity to sneak in a few flirty advances and he took them. He was a teen now, after all. "Just shut up and fuck already," came Roman's voice from the cockpit. "Mind your goddamn business, Torchwick," Naruto barked at the man, who began laughing once again. Ignore the fool, Naruto. Cinder's silky smooth voice broke him out of his irritation. We'll drop you off at your bar. Inside you'll find your reward. My reward? I thought my reward was supposed to be a fair lady's kiss. He once again chided with a flirt. Patience, Mr. Uzumaki. Good things come to people who wait. Cinder then suppressed another chuckle as she leaned in to whisper to her blonde companion. Very good things. The rest of the flight to Naruto's bar was spent in contemplative silence on Naruto's part because this was the very first time that Cinder had returned his playful flirting. He didn't know whether to be happy that someone was interested in him in that way or scared that it was Cinder of all women. After hovering just above the roof of the bar, Naruto bade goodbye to his partners and hopped out of the aircraft and onto said roof. Once inside, Naruto cut on the lights of the back room and sure enough, there were 2 crates full of both dust and lean, his share of the take, he imagined. But before he could inspect the contents, he heard the front door of the bar open rather violently, followed by a number of footsteps, and just as he was about to make a break for it, the door to the back room swung open, revealing 2 full squads of veiled police. More specifically 2 SWAT teams, and every single one of them had their weapons expertly trained on him. Naruto Uzumaki. Called the man Naruto assumed was their commanding officer. You are under arrest as of this moment. On what grounds and on whose authority? Naruto asked. On grounds of multiple cases of grand larceny, multiple cases of aiding and abetting, multiple cases of destruction of public and private property, multiple cases of grand theft auto, multiple cases of resisting and evading arrest, 1 case of assault and 1 case of attempted murder. Most of these charges are being brought against you by the councils of Vacuo, Mistral, Vale and Atlas, while the assault and attempted murder charges are being brought against you by the Huntsman Academy of Beacon. I suggest you shut up and come with us peacefully. That huntress. Naruto inwardly realized. When she was using her semblance, I bet she snuck a tracking device onto me while we were exchanging blows. Well, what's it gonna be? The officer queried. I'll not resist this time around, you got me. Very good. The officer said while holstering his pistol. To Atlas with this one, boys. At hearing that he was gonna be extradited to Atlas, Naruto only had one thing to say as he was being handcuffed. Shit. Chapter 4. The Vale Police Department was in an uproar, a complete uproar. Naruto Uzumaki, the architect himself, had finally been cornered and arrested, and one could currently find damn near the entire office celebrating in various ways, all except for the 2 SWAT teams and the officer who had arrested him. Speaking of Naruto, he was being held in an interrogation room in nothing but his black tank top, his cargo pants and his boots, as his duster, gloves, belt and weapons had been confiscated upon arrival at the station. His hands were, well, handcuffed and said cuffs were attached to a pair of cuffs around his ankles. There were 4 SWAT officers at each corner of the room, another 2 outside the door, and who knows how many others on the other side of the one-way glass partition. He found this funny, he truly did. He could escape at any time if he really wanted to, but at the risk of garnering more heat and more international attention, and he wanted to spare himself and his team that kind of attention. So, with a chuckle, he turned to the officer that was behind him, to his left. Hey Bill, you don't mind if I call you Bill, right? Naruto snidely asked with a smirk on his face. Silence was his answer, so he continued with his train of thought. Mind at least giving me a cigarette or something? I'm getting bored to death in here, for God's sake. Silence once again befell the room when it was broken once again by an audible shrug by Naruto. So uptight. You boys need to relax, it's not like I'm going anywhere anytime soon or for the next 80 or so years, most likely. You'd visit me, right Bill? Shut up. The officer Naruto had named Bill answered gruffly. And about that time, the door opened to reveal a man with gray hair and a suit whose color scheme seemed to fit black and green, a cane with some type of crossguard and glass spectacles to top it off. The man's gaze was impartial, and he coolly stepped into the room and stood in front of the desk, where his gaze settled onto the blonde in front of him. Naruto Uzumaki. The man addressed Naruto. The architect, the mad fox of Vale's underworld, the one your underlings call Professor and the one your enemies call the Yellow Reaper. You're a man of many names, many monikers, and yet, you're still just a man, are you not? In a manner of speaking, Professor Ozpin. Naruto acknowledged the man in front of him, to which Ozpin hummed in response to. Quite the rap sheet you've accumulated since your time at Signal, what, 3 years ago now? Indeed, indeed. Naruto nodded. And let me guess you're here to try and conscript me into being a huntsman in exchange for the charges being dropped, am I right? Right to the point, I see. Ozpin hummed. In any case, yes, you are right. I have the power to extend to you this one-time only offer. Accept, and you're a free man. Refuse and I'm afraid it's to Atlas with you. Have you ever been to Atlas, Professor? Naruto asked, seemingly on a whim. I have. Ozpin decided to play along. Quite a remarkable place, I must say. They're not the leading military power for nothing, after all. More specifically, Professor, have you ever been to Castle White? The Schnee family estate. No, I can't say that I have. I have. There was mischief in Naruto's voice. Multiple times, and none of those times an invited guest. It's no secret that the Schnee family outright hates my species, Professor, and if you were to talk to some of my people, it's no secret that I hate them right back. Their heiress, one Weiss Schnee, I believe she's to be one of your new students this year. She and I know each other. We've had run-ins on different occasions. And Rob, her father and the current CEO of the Schnee Dust Company. We know each other as well. You see, on each occasion that we would meet, he'd try to have me killed. He hates my guts with the most visceral of passions, and that hatred is passed down to his daughter. I guess you could say it's my fault, but I don't really care. Why are you telling me all of this, Mr. Uzumaki? Ozpin suddenly cut in. Don't worry, there's a point to all of this. Long story short, when you see her, and if you even care to remember, ask her about the scar that runs down her left eye and ask her if she enjoys the Mad Fox's mark. And in all one moment, Ozpin's eyes, albeit minutely, widened in surprise when he saw a flash of something appear in Naruto's place. This thing had red slit eyes, fangs, claws and a bloodthirsty smirk plastered on its face. Its eyes were lit with both the fires of hell and the sparks of insanity, and the smirk, those fangs peeking out over his lips, seemed like they thirsted for fresh blood, like they yearned to tear apart anyone and anything that dared challenge them. For that brief instance, Ozpin swore he saw not a boy in front of him, but a new breed of grim, and as a consequence he gripped his cane a bit tighter, as if readying for an attack that never came. So, with all of that, Naruto's voice broke the professor out of his reverie. My answer is no. Thank you for the offer, but I'd rather not tie myself down, not just yet, anyway. I see, Ozpin managed to say as he quickly rose and composed himself. Well, it is regrettable, but it is your life, Mr. Uzumaki. I hope the courts are kind to you. Good night. Well, there goes our only solid offer of amnesty. Kurama sighed. You trust those friends of yours that much, kid? I trust them implicitly, Kurama. Naruto inwardly said to the Biju. They know what to do in a situation like this. All we have to do is sit back and wait. Minutes passed, those minutes then turned into nearly 2.5 hours of just sitting in the interrogation room until the officer responsible for his arrest entered. Good news, Uzumaki. The officer said with a smirk. Atlas forces have just arrived to pick you up. General Ironwood himself is with them. Ah, I get to see James again. Naruto mused, a smirk of his own plastered to his face. Hurry up and take me to him, we must have words. Shut up, Fleabag. The officer suddenly snapped. You don't get to order me around. Now, stand the fuck up. The quick tug to Naruto's collar rose the blonde to his feet, his smirk now turning to a scowl. You wanna run that by me again, chucklehead? What did you just call me? A slight growl made its way into Naruto's tone. I called you a fucking worthless Fleabag. You gonna do something about it, Faunus? Huh? And right at that moment, the lights of the station shut off, shrouding the entire place in darkness. The sounds of chains breaking, followed by the sound of a body thumping to the ground. Naruto had knocked the officer out, opting not to kill him because, again, he didn't want to bring even more heat against himself and his friends. After knocking the racist officer out and taking his pistol, Naruto easily made his way through the darkened halls of the station, thanks to his night vision, where he eventually came upon the door to the station's armory. Promptly kicking said door in, Naruto then tossed the pistol aside and re-equipped himself, cracking a smirk when the dust inlays of his clothes began to glow once again. After taking his katana by the hilt, with the sheaths still on, he began to traverse the halls once again, traveling at breakneck speeds, knocking out officer after officer in the confusion, until he reached the entrance and immediately sent a straight heel kick into the sternum of the final officer, sending him barreling through the doors and onto the streets outside. About time you got here, Naru. Frost greeted his friend as he effortlessly dodged a few blows from another officer's nightstick before promptly knocking him out with a well-placed right hook to the left temple, the blow being even greater thanks to the pair of oversized silver brass knuckles that he was brandishing. Ellie and Garnet should be returning shortly. Iago added as he batted yet another officer's nightstick away and knocked him out using the blunt end of a spear he was using. This was my idea. Thought I should mention that. Topaz added as she rendered her opponent unconscious thanks to a harsh shield bash. These were the weapons that Naruto's crew had built themselves. Frost's oversized brass knuckles were named Aurora, which sat upon his left hand, and Blizzard, which sat upon his right, and they both could fold out and transform into a pair of semi-automatic pistols. Iago's spear was made of red steel, and it could transform into a sniper rifle, which he had named Longshot. Topaz's shield was a black miniaturized tower shield named Onyx, and it also had a hilt-like protrusion coming out of the top of it, which, if she pulled on, would reveal a blade made of red plasma named Sanguine Razor. And as if on cue, Ellie and Garnet came running out brandishing their weapons just as Naruto joined the fray. Ellie's weapon was a greatsword she named Oblivion, and it was made with the 5 primary dust types folded into the blade itself, and it had a trigger close to the crossguard that she could pull to switch between the dust types and therefore power the blade with the current element used. Garnet's weapon was a double-barrel shotgun that had blades on the underside of the barrels, and if she wanted to, she could click one of the safeties in to detach one of the barrels and swivel it around to create a double-bladed sword, and she named this weapon Twilight Sentinel. And there the 6 friends and comrades were, holding off wave after wave of Veil police, as they either arrived on scene or woke up from their unconsciousness, until finally, an order was given over loudspeaker. Lethal force has been authorized. One of the lead officers screamed out. Prepare to fire. Naruto. Iago glanced over his shoulder to their leader. They're about to light us up, Naruto. What are we gonna do? Garnet asked. We go lethal. Naruto finally decided. Are we ready for that kind of heat? Topaz asked. Hell yeah we are. Ellie exclaimed as she pulled the trigger of Oblivion, imbuing the blade with fire dust. One massacre, coming right up. Frost agreed as he shifted his brass knuckles into their gun forms and took aim. Iago merely tightened his grip on his spear and settled into a more aggressive stance. Garnet transformed her shotgun into its double blade form. Topaz gripped the hilt of the razor and gave it a good tug, which activated the red plasma blade, just as she settled into a stance that favored her shield for the moment, and Naruto himself settled into an Iato stance as the dust inlays of his clothes began to glow brighter by the second. Fire. The lead officer screamed out once again, and in that one moment, all hell nearly broke loose. Just as the officers began to fire, a bullhead came swooping overhead, firing upon the officers with the chin-mounted miniguns, sending them scrambling for cover. After granting the 6 some leeway, the doors of the bullhead swung open, revealing full squad of Junior's men, who were beckoning Naruto and his group to quickly board. On the bullhead. Naruto managed to scream out over the noise. Now. And without any question, his friends complied and each filed into the bullhead until Naruto himself was the last to board, and once he boarded, the doors swung shut and the VTOL took off once again. That was a close one, kid. Came the unmistakable voice of Roman Torchwick as he strolled out of the cockpit. Ellie and Garnet cut power to the station. All 6 of us have a standoff in the parking lot and you show up at the last second to drag us out of the fire. Naruto asked while chuckling. Why do I think you set all of this up? The tricks aren't my thing, Blondie. Roman shrugged. Besides, Miss Queen Bitch sent me personally to collect you. She knew your crew would bust you out, so she sent me and these fine gentlemen as added insurance. She seems to think very highly of you, kid. In any case, Naruto sighed as he took a seat in one of the empty seats. Glad you showed up when you did, Roman. Yeah. Iago agreed. A massacre was about to occur. No need to have you all being irreversibly blacklisted just yet. Roman then leaned against one of the walls of the VTOL. And with this little escape attempt, you're gonna have to find a new location to lay low, Blondie. Your bar's no longer safe. Butch knows what to do with the bar, don't worry about that. And as far as laying low goes, I believe we're finally ready to fully integrate with Cinder and her plans. Naruto said, mildly shocking his friends, but they had ultimately seen this coming sooner or later. Ha! Roman suddenly busted out laughing. Welcome to the team then, kid. Been a long time coming. Queen Bitch is gonna be thrilled. The remainder of the ride to Cinder's main base was spent in silence until the trip was over and the bullhead settled into a landing pad. Once the doors swung open once again, Roman, Naruto and his crew filed out of the VTOL and headed deeper into a mysterious complex of buildings, most likely situated on a waterfront somewhere, judging from the ports and dry docks. After a few minutes of walking, the group came upon a warehouse and promptly entered the building. Therein waited Cinder and 2 other people. Well, holy shit, you actually made it. Came the voice of a man. The collect on the lien you owe me, Mercury. Naruto said with a smirk as he and the now identified Mercury shook hands. Emerald. He then nodded his head in Emerald's direction. Whiskers? Emerald returned the nod with a smirk. Good work in retrieving them, Roman. Cinder's voice cut the reunion short as she sauntered up to Naruto. And congratulations on breaking out of jail successfully, Naruto. No, Cinder, thank you for bailing us out of a difficult situation. Naruto returned the deceptively sultry gaze with a knowing smirk. Then, I suppose with you all here, you've decided. Yes. We're ready to integrate. My katana is yours, Miss Fall. I'll bet it is, Frost muttered, gaining a few muffled chuckles from Roman, Iago and Ellie, but a stomp on the foot from Garnet. Not that katana. She sharply whispered. Very good. Cinder managed a contented smile before turning on her heel and walking away. Naruto, you shall be joining Emerald and Mercury as my personal confidants, and you may keep command of your group and mafia friends. As far as your responsibilities go, you'll be helping Junior manage our information network and will also be helping Roman on his raids whenever is convenient for you. Other than that, welcome to the winning side of the coming war. Glad to finally be a part of it, Cinder. Naruto nodded to her in agreement of his new responsibilities. Now, everyone may go, I have no further need of you all. Roman, you and your men kindly show Naruto's friends to their quarters. Naruto, you, Emerald and Mercury may stay. What's up? Naruto asked once the four of them were finally alone. As you well know, Beacon is going to be welcoming their new first-year student sometime this week. Cinder began as she sat upon a wooden crate and crossed her right leg over her knee. I want you to infiltrate and get me an estimate of how many make it through initiation and, if possible, dossiers on the teams that will no doubt be formed. Sounds easy enough. Consider it done. Very good. Emerald. Yes? Emerald asked. You and Mercury will be making a diplomatic trip to our friends in the White Fang. Secure an alliance if you can, and if you can't, then reassure them of our overall goals. Got it? And that's it. You three are dismissed. Emerald, show Naruto to the VIP quarters if you would. After nodding, Emerald began walking off towards another warehouse, followed by Naruto, who fell into step beside her, lost in his thoughts. Infiltrating Beacon should be fun. He thought with an outward smirk. I get to meet Weiss again, and I get to truly test just how far Ruby and Yang have come since my walking out on signal. Hopefully, none of them disappoint. I've been aching for a serious fight for some time now, and that little spar with Ruby did nothing for me except exacerbate the situation. Even if they don't measure you, there's always Ozpin, but that'd be overstepping my boundaries. An all-out fight with a headmaster would accomplish nothing, gotta be careful to limit myself to just the prospective huntsmen and huntresses in training. Besides, it's been a while since I've stretched my legs. You gotta let me loose, Naru. Came another voice from his subconscious. Patience, Kira. Naruto inwardly scolded the voice now known as Kira. I'll let you out when we meet an appropriate enemy. It wouldn't do to reveal you, my demonic alter ego, to the world just yet. Why are you playing this safe? You could have conquered this pitiful excuse of a world by now. Together, we can do anything. So why are you content to waiting? Because there's more to gain by playing things safe. I'm biding my time, waiting for the right moment to expose us. Be patient, Kira, we'll have our time soon enough. And with that, Naruto cut the connection with his alter ego and took in a big breath of the salty air of the docks. Tomorrow was gonna be a good day, he could feel it. Yang, Ruby, Weiss, I'm coming for you all. And you better bring your A-game. The Mad Fox is on the hunt once again. Chapter 5. Talk no Jutsu. I can't believe this is working, sighed Kurama from inside his Jinchuriki's head. I can totally believe this, furball. Exclaimed Kira. These aren't shinobi or kunoichi we're dealing with, these are regular people. Dumb as bricks, at that. Will you two keep it down in there? Naruto inwardly asked his two tenants with an outward groan. You're giving me a headache. Yes, Naruto was currently on an airship bound for Beacon while under a henge transformation, and no one was the wiser to the fact that one of the most wanted criminals in all of Remnant was mingling among them. The henge that he was under gave him stark black hair, emerald green eyes, got rid of his whiskers, lowered his height by a couple of inches, and gave him a suit of plate armor over a black bodysuit, with the gauntlets being spiked so as to give the illusion that they were his weapon, since his katana was obscured by said henge. That being said, this was no ordinary henge, it was a Majin, or demonic illusion, which was casted using his yaki instead of normal chakra. A Majin henge, demonic illusion transformation, was basically an upscaled version of the regular henge, more sturdy than the parent jutsu, in the fact that upon being hit, the illusion wouldn't drop, and was also more precise than the parent jutsu, in that whatever the caster wanted to transform into. The Majin would more intricately copy what the caster was imagining. In other words, there would be fewer imperfections in what Naruto was transformed into right now, as opposed to a regular henge. Currently, he was leaning against one of the walls of the airship, with his arms crossed over his chest and a rather apathetic look marring his face, which is actually how he felt at this point. He was surrounded by prospective huntsmen and huntresses, and he could care less. He was here to do a job and that was it. Minutes passed by uneventfully until the airship began to lurch before the entire thing shuddered, signaling that they had finally docked. Pushing himself off of the wall, Naruto filed in with the rest of the hopefuls before another blonde boy went running past him while holding one hand over his mouth and another caressing his stomach. Air sickness, Naruto mentally sighed. You used to be like that, Kit. Kurama began to chuckle. Remember your first flight in one of these things? I'd rather not, thank you very much. On his way out of the airship, Naruto caught a glimpse of both Yang and Ruby, and with but a smirk, he decided against doing anything just yet. After witnessing Yang abandon Ruby in the middle of the crowd in an attempt to help her make new friends, it happened a flash of white. Her. Ha. Naru, it's her. Cackled Kira within Naruto's subconscious. Why shni Naruto whispered, mostly to himself and a growl to his voice. Bloodbath time, it seems. Kurama hummed. No, not yet. Naruto had managed to get his emotions under control for the most part. It wouldn't do to cause a scene this early, so before his demonic blood heated up once again, he beat a hasty retreat into the amphitheater of Beacon, where he saw Ozpin standing upon the stage with a microphone in front of him. Seeing as not everyone was there at the moment, he decided to do something crazy in order to get a better estimate for how many people Beacon was hosting. After focusing for a few seconds, he willed his Majin Henge to dispel while at the same time shrouding himself with another Majin, this one turning him invisible. With one hop, Naruto was then stuck to the ceiling thanks to him focusing chakra to the soles of his feet, and what he saw while topside impressed him. There was a good amount of hopefuls this year, and Naruto recognized some of them. He recognized RWBY, Yang and Weiss, of course, and was that Pura Nikos. Mental note. Fighter as soon as possible. Naruto inwardly made note of his goal to fight such a well-known girl of Pura's caliber. Scanning over the people and faces, he spotted the blonde guy that passed him and nearly threw up on him, a rather energetic girl who had a massive warhammer strapped to her back, and an unassuming boy who had raven hair wearing a green coattail. They were the ones that drew Naruto's attention the most, so much so that a pair of familiar cat ears now obscured by a bow went unnoticed by him. Meanwhile, the owner of those ears began to sniff at the air, swearing that she recognized the smell. Calm down, Blake, she tried to reassure himself. He's long gone, you're never gonna see him again. Keep your mind focused on the task at hand. Soon enough, Ozpin had finished his speech, and the hopefuls were then led into a ballroom where they were told they'd be staying for the night. Naruto, however, had split off from the group in an effort to scout out the academy. Hopping from building to building, he couldn't help but feel a bit nostalgic, as this was how he used to get around during his days as a shinobi in his old world, but he managed to push the nostalgia back as he approached Beacon Tower, which he promptly began to scale by running up the length of said tower until he reached the face of the clock. Therein, he saw that Ozpin was currently in a meeting with the huntress he had ran through with Chidori Iso, and thanks to his enhanced hearing, he could hear every word spoken. The facts still stand, sir. Glinda argued. He stabbed me using his clothing's dust inlays. And he escaped from jail just a few nights ago. What are you thinking? Please, Glinda. Ozpin responded calmly. Just leave this to me. Nothing will be done immediately because we have to tend to our up-and-coming first years, but rest assured that steps have been taken. You needn't worry. But I do worry, sir. Not about myself, but about our students. He knows you have an interest in him now, so what if he decides to interfere with tomorrow's initiation? Then we'll deal with it if it happens. For now, just calm down, please. I'm on top of everything. He has no idea who he's dealing with, Naruto inwardly growled. I say we show him just who's he fucking with. Kira exclaimed. There's a plan in place, Kira. Kurama scolded the demon. Let the kid handle things for now, he knows what he's doing. Again, you two are giving me a headache. Seeing as there was nothing else to be gained at the moment without breaking into Ozpin's office, Naruto cut the flow of his chakra to his feet and began a freefall from the top of the tower until just 30 feet from impacting with the ground, he pushed off of the tower and began hopping off of the rooftops of the surrounding buildings as he was doing just minutes before until he found his way to the ballroom, or rather, the rooftop of the ballroom. After landing from his last jump, he dropped his invisibility Majin and settled into one of the corners, then brought his hands together in his favorite hand seal. Page Bunshin no Jutsu. 4 clones then popped into existence and they instantly snapped to attention. I want you 4 to spread out and set up sentry points throughout this academy. Monitor the hopefuls, the staff, anyone you 4 deem potential parties of interest. When tomorrow morning hits, dispel yourselves and I'll sort out the info you all collect before moving on to initiation. The 4 clones then nodded their compliance and shot off in different directions, while Naruto went into one of the pockets of his duster and brought out a pack of cigarettes from one and a Zippo lighter from another, then promptly lit the cigarette with said lighter before settling into his corner once again to admire the coming sunset. Minutes passed as the orange hues of said sunset began to fill the sky, followed by Naruto taking a drag of his cig and blowing it out. He had forgotten the last time he could just sit down and enjoy a sunset like this, and he doubted he'd have many more chances to do so in the future, so he relished this moment, he took it all in, and for once in a long time, he felt calm. No, it was more than that, he felt at peace. But, the feeling came and went just as fast because he heard rustling behind him. Quickly putting his cancer stick out and crouching into the inside of the corner, a kunai ready, he braced himself to ambush whoever was foolish enough to cross him. He listened to the footsteps of the person in question and waited until the last possible second, where he popped up and pressed his kunai to the intruder's throat, where he also felt steel at his throat. Blue met amber, and both pairs of eyes widened upon meeting. Their throats suddenly became dry, the air left their lungs, the kunai he was holding and the katana she was holding fell from their now limp grasps, and with the clatter of their weapons, the call of their names intermingled with the sound of steel meeting concrete. Blake, Naruto muttered in shock. Naruto. Blake whispered his name, resisting the urge to smile at the feeling of those syllables leaving her lips for the first time in 3 years. Kurama was speechless, and Kira was in the same boat. Both were sure that they'd never see Blake again, and Naruto was just as sure of that fact as they were, evident when he brought his shaky right hand that was previously holding his kunai up to where her ears were. "You're hiding them?" he asked with a slight frown. "That's all you have to say?" she asked, still a bit shocked. "You walk out on me the very day we meet, and now, 3 years later, we meet again, and the first thing you notice about me is that my ears are hidden." I didn't mean." "Then let me give it a try. You're a criminal now." "I have my reasons, Blake." Naruto defended himself as he picked up his kunai and slipped it back into his weapons pouch. "Also, for the record, the first thing I noticed was that you're in your pajamas, not your ears." "Don't change the subject," she defended with a very light blush. And I had already taken my gear off by the time I smelled cigarette smoke in the air. No one in the ballroom was smoking, so I thought I'd investigate. And here we are. Naruto finished for her as he sat upon the ledge of the corner he was previously hunkered up in, facing her. The cat and the fox, once friends but now on opposite sides of the chessboard. "Just what happened to you?" queried the cat Francis as she picked up Gamble's shroud and took a seat beside him, not across from him, because she knew she was in no danger. She just somehow knew that he wouldn't dare harm her. "So even you know about me being the mysterious architect?" "Your files passed over my desk time and time again while I was still with the White Fang. The architect, the Mad Fox, Professor, the Yellow Reaper, Chessmaster, different names for the same person, a person I thought I knew at one point. Do I still know you, Naruto?" "I doubt anyone really knows me anymore." He sighed, a hint of sadness and regret in his voice. "I've become what I am today for a reason." "Which is?" "You know I can't talk your ear off, Blake. We may be enemies come tomorrow morning." "So, you intend on infiltrating initiation?" "I infiltrated Beacon, didn't I?" "Still, though, why? What do you gain by doing this?" "That would be telling, Blake." Naruto responded with a small smile. "I can't say anymore, not to an enemy." "Is that really what you see me as?" "No." He mentally chanted to that question, and every fiber in his being was begging him to drop the charade he was putting on. "No, no, no, no." "Yes." He finally responded with shadowed eyes and balled fists. She knew that face all too well. She knew that tone all too well. That face and tone was the very same she would use when forcing herself to lie, when forcing herself to keep up a facade. At this moment, she could see that she and Naruto were more similar than she first theorized. He obviously believed in a cause, and he thought he was making the right decision, and she could tell that he was trying to push himself away from those he once called friends, so. "You're lying," she bluntly stated, making Naruto's eyes shoot open once again, as wide as saucers. "It's the mysterious queen, isn't it? That's who you're working for." She began to connect the dots. Before she left the White Fang, they began dealing with a mysterious woman who only referred to herself as the queen. She never showed herself in person, she always sent a pair of individuals who kept their identities a secret, and there were talks of an alliance, which she and Adam were in charge of negotiating. Consequentially, this was about the time that reports of the architect started to resurface. "And no, you're wrong." Naruto denied. "Naruto," Blake began. "You can still turn back. It's not too late to stop all of this and come back to me," she finished with a whisper while turning away from him so he couldn't see her faint blush. "It's," Naruto breathed out. "It is too late, Blake. I'm a wanted man, the Elysian Council wants me dead, the Schnee Dust Company wants me dead, the other 3 councils probably want me either dead or rotting in prison for the rest of my life. I've already refused Ozpin's offer, I'm in way too deep." "Naruto." The firmness of how she said his name brought his full attention to her. "If I can be redeemed, so can you. My name is sure to have passed through your information channels as well. You should know what I've done." "Lake Belladonna," he sighed as he delved into his memory, reciting her profile. "Captain of the White Fang, second under Adam Taurus, Commandant of the White Fang. Crimes include grand larceny, grand theft auto, resisting and evading arrest and..." "Finish it." She pressed. "I want you to finish it." "And 9 counts of murder." "See, I read your files as well. The biggest thing on your record right now is the attempted murder charge. Well, I have 9 counts of actual murder. I'm not proud of what I've done, and like you, I thought I was serving a higher purpose. I believed in what we were doing, and my beliefs came back to bite me. Everyone may want you dead or worse, but all you have to do is meet with Ozpin one last time, say yes to his offer, and your hell can finally end. I don't want to see you make the same mistakes I made, I don't want to see you suffer for them." She then paused for all of that to sink in. I still see an amazing person in you, Naruto. I still see a true hero in you. Don't let that hero be killed by the villain that is your own preconceptions about the people you're working with. Blake. Think on that, Naruto. I have to return to the ballroom now lest I missed. Think it over tonight and tomorrow. I hope to see you in initiation as an ally. As Naruto was getting lost in his thoughts once again, he felt a pair of warm lips upon his right cheek and his eyes shot up to see Blake's back to him. And that tea that was a welcome back gift. She managed to say before hopping over the side of the ballroom and disappeared into the shadows below. Needless to say, Naruto didn't get any sleep that night thanks to a combination of Kira's constant innuendos and Blake's words echoing in his head. He spent hours replaying the entire conversation in his head over and over again until he noticed that the hopefuls were filing out of the ballroom. Shit. He inwardly cursed as he shrouded himself in his invisibility mageon once again and began to follow the hopefuls out to a cliffside where upon arriving, his clones finally dispelled themselves, flooding his head with their memories. Forcing the memories back while letting his healing factor take care of the headache, he watched on as Ozpin explained what they'd be doing for initiation and then nearly busted into laughter when the hopefuls were flung from the cliff via the springboards they were previously standing on and then he noticed that RWBY, Weiss, Blake and Yang were among the hopefuls that were sent flying. Now was his chance. He took a step forward and immediately froze as Blake's words began coming back to him. Ozpin was alone, save for Glinda, he could get his pardon right here and now. I agree, Kit. It's up to you. You'll have mine and Kira's support regardless of your choice. Kurama agreed with his roommate. Naruto stood there for several minutes weighing his options until finally he let out an audible sigh and dropped his mageon right in front of Ozpin and Glinda. Professor. Naruto greeted Ozpin while Glinda readied her riding crop. Mr. Uzumaki. Ozpin nodded to Naruto while holding his hand up for Glinda to stop. To what do I owe the pleasure? He was keeping his curiosity buried for the moment as he really wanted to know how the boy managed a perfect invisibility cloak, but at the same time, he was intrigued at just why Naruto decided to reveal himself. I wish to renegotiate my allegiance. Indeed. The older man hummed. Need I mention that my offer was one time only? You needn't, Professor, I know full well that it was. But something tells me you're going to give me one last chance. Your gut feeling would be correct, Mr. Uzumaki. You are a very intriguing young man, very complex and very powerful, I imagine. I'd consider it an honor if you were to accept my offer to become a huntsman. And I'd be honored to accept your offer, Professor. I recently had some sense talked into me and I came to a realization. The path that I was on was going to ruin me and I thought it best to head off the coming disaster before it begins, rather than suffer through it. With that being said, Professor, I accept your offer. I wish to become a huntsman of Beacon Academy and Vale as a whole. Sir, you can't possibly be, Glinda began. I am. Ozpin cut her off. Welcome to Beacon Academy then, Mr. Uzumaki. The two men then shook hands, sealing the deal. Glinda, however, huffed and stormed off. She's still mad about the whole stabbing thing, Naruto muttered. Indeed. Best apologize as soon as possible and get to work showing your commitment and loyalty to this academy. About that, Professor, I have an offer. Ozpin's curiosity was piqued once again and he merely listened on as Naruto explained his plan. Emerald Forest. Some time later. RWBY, Weiss, Yang, Blake, John, Purah, Nor and Ren were currently on the run from a death stalker that John and Purah had awoken while exploring a cave and ever since then, initiation had gone straight to hell. As they made their way into some ancient mountainside ruins, the screech of an evermore filled the sky and all 8 hopefuls' heads shot up to look at the oversized bird. Fuck. This. Damn. Bird. A voice floated above the screeching, followed by said Grim being decapitated by seemingly nothing and a small yellow dot holding onto the bird's corpse as it plummeted from the sky. Upon impact, the former blonde dot tucked and rolled off of the corpse and ended up crouched a few yards away from the 8 hopefuls as he stood and dusted himself off, then threw a 2-fingered salute towards them. Yo. Sorry I'm late. Naruto. RWBY exclaimed as she deployed crescent rows, preparing for a fight. Naruto. Yang growled out as she deployed Ember Celica and settled into a fighting stance. Naruto. Blake sighed out, a light blush tinting her cheeks. Uzumaki. Weiss howled out as she charged head-on at the blonde and his once lively smirk grew dark. Shni, he whispered her name as he flashed in front of her and sent her flying back thanks to a rather powerful punch which landed. RWBY, however, was there to catch her partner. Dust, what are you doing here, Naruto? RWBY asked while checking to see if Weiss was alright. Simple, I'm your last challenge for initiation. You're to fight a full-fledged huntsman. What? The redhead stammered out in shock. I knew you'd make the right choice, Naruto. Blake mused to herself with a smile. Not half an hour ago, I met with Professor Ozpin. He and I came to an agreement. I'm now a free man and an actual huntsman. All that's left now is to finalize the paperwork, get me my licenses, and let the kingdoms know that I'm not to be arrested or hunted down, as I'm now devoting my life and entire existence to protecting humanity from the Grim. Basically, my life for a clean slate, and it's in no small part thanks to you, Ruby. You were the start of my turn. And Blake, you were what drove the nail in the coffin. For that, I thank you too. But the fact still stands. Ren cut in. You may be a free man now, but you're still our final challenge. That's right. Yang declared. And I owe you a few punches for hurting my little sister. Dead in line. Weiss hollered. If anyone gets first dibs on him, it's me. And I intend for you to die. Once again, she charged and once again Naruto sent her flying back, this time with a kick to the face. I'm not yours to fight alone, Ice Queen. Naruto began to growl. All 8 of you will have to take me on. So, let's see what you've got. Pura was the first to make a move by swinging Milo in a downward vertical slice, to which Naruto sidestepped and threw a quick right kick at her, which she blocked with AKOU acute 01. Naruto found himself leaning out of the way of a retaliatory thrust from Milo, and this is when he saw his opportunity. After leaning out of the way, he brought his left leg directly upwards into Pura's still extended hand and kicked her weapon upwards out of her grasp, then jumped up and twirled around so the heel of his right foot would connect with the hilt of the weapon, sending it flying right back down at its wielder blade first. In response, Pura shifted her body to the left and grabbed Milo out of the air in a reverse grip, then raised her shield to block the downward heel drop from Naruto. Again, he smirked. After falling backwards onto his hands, Naruto pushed himself up and caught Pura on the chin with his left foot in a springboard rising heel kick as she was more focused on the previous heel drop, which served as a cover for this offensive. Falling backwards into his handstand once again, Naruto pivoted on his right foot and got inside the guard of John as he went in for a thrust using Crossy Amores, but left his shield arm wide open. Wrestling control of the shield from John, Naruto pivoted once again and sent a straight heel kick into the boy's back, sending him careening right into a charging Ren. Suddenly, his sixth sense kicked in and he brought John's shield up as he crouched just in time to block a downward smash from Nora's hammer, Magnald. Once the brunt of the impact was over, Naruto deflected the warhammer down and to his right while using that spinning momentum to bring himself back to his feet and around for a harsh shield bash that connected with Nora's head, sending her toppling backwards dazed. After dealing with the other 3, Naruto slipped his arm out of the slot of the shield, caught it by one of its edges, and threw it up at Pura, who was preparing a downward slice using the momentum of her fall. Said shield impacted against her own shield, but that was only another distraction. Naruto had used his speed to get just below where Pura was going to land and promptly kicked her into the sky once again, effectively juggling her. After blocking the upwards kick with her shield, Pura readied herself for anything except the feel of Naruto's right hand on her lower back. "Look out below, Miss Nikos," Naruto whispered to her, and Pura couldn't help but blush at both the placement of his hand and just how close they were, despite them being midair. She then felt his hand tense as he twisted her to her left while throwing a left kick at her, to which she expertly blocked, but was rendered completely shocked when he spun around and nailed her with a left backhand to the face, followed by a hard right punch to the gut, and to finish it off, he used the momentum from his punch to spin himself around just as Pura hit the ground and drove his left heel into the same place he had punched. The ground cratered in on itself from the impact and all of the air left Pura's lungs, followed by a trace amount of blood as he had actually broken through her aura with his combo. Shishirenden, Lion's combo. Naruto inwardly chanted, a slight chill going down his spine for using one of Sasuke's old moves. He then hopped away from the 4 of them, who were all mostly disabled, and turned on the 4 girls who were his real targets. Well, Naruto sighed with a smirk. Now that the distractions are out of the way, shall we dance, girls? Holy shit, Yang whispered. I forgot just how good he was, she mentally finished while settling back into a fighting stance. It's nostalgic, really watching him fight and beat a team of huntsmen and huntresses, all without even using his sword. We're not gonna make the mistake of fighting him one-on-one. Ruby said, seriousness filling her voice. We 4 take him on together. Alone, we can't possibly beat him, but together we have a chance. Fight him together if you want, he's mine to kill. Weiss declared as she charged at him yet again. Weiss. Ruby called after her partner, then dashed off after her, followed by Yang and lastly Blake. Just then, the Death Stalker from before reared up and charged at Naruto from behind, its giant stinger snapping forward. You're an eyesore, Naruto muttered as he turned and gripped the sheath of his katana with his left hand and the hilt with his right, and with one fluid motion, he disappeared from everyone's field of view, halting their charge just as the Death Stalker split perfectly in half down the middle. The Yang gawked. He's using it. There stood Naruto with his katana held in his right hand, and for the first time in a long time, Yang and Ruby could marvel at the blade itself. It was a flawless blade made of a tempered and polished carbon steel, and around the whole of the blade, there seemed to be a pitch-black field that streamed off of it when swung, giving off the appearance that the shadows themselves danced along the blade when in actuality, it was something like Topaz's sanguine razor. It was a plasma field, though this plasma field was colored black and didn't completely coat the blade to give it an energy sword-like appearance, there was just enough plasma there to help cut through whatever needed to be cut. The shadow imitation itself, Ruby stated in awe. Naruto's personal weapon Hisatsu, killing blow certain kill. Correction, little sis. Yang cut in, trying to lighten the mood. Remember what he told us. In the language of where he comes from, it's Kajimane. Hisatsu. Kajimane, or shadow imitation, for the black plasma around the blade and Hisatsu because everything he's ever swung it at has always died in one hit, thus, whenever he draws it, he's going in for the certain kill. Everything save for me, Weiss mentally added to the conversation. You all enjoying the view? Naruto's voice cut the extrapolation short as he sheathed the Hisatsu once again and began leisurely walking back to where he was standing before. Now then, where were we? Alright, this is the plan. Ruby said, snapping back into action. Yang, you're our tank and you've fought him the most out of all of us here. You engage him directly. Blake, you're gonna swing around and try to hit him from behind, use hit and run tactics, unless you think you can help Yang in her straight up fight. Weiss, you're our support. Use your glyphs to buff us and debuff him and attack whenever you can while I come in from his flank. We surround him, overwhelm him, give him too much to pay attention to, and that's how we win. Fine by me. Yang exclaimed as she began her charge, followed closely behind by Blake. Bumblebee's up first. Naruto exclaimed as he fell into a fighting stance. Let's get it on, then. With a shot from her right gauntlet, Yang began her attack with a missed punch that Naruto had swayed to his left to avoid. He then balled his right fist up and went forward for a punch, but it proved to be a fake, evident when he pulled it back just in the nick of time to nail Blake in the face with a backwards elbow. The Blake he hit, however, disappeared and the real Blake rounded upon him with the first successful hit on him. A slash from Gamble Shroud's katana form which was blocked by Naruto's aura, but it was a hit nonetheless, a hit that Yang also capitalized on when she wound up a punch and sent it careening right into Naruto's face, using his imbalance from Blake's slash to her advantage. Naruto was caught off guard. He wasn't expecting Blake's semblance to be something similar to his Cage Bunshin's, and her slash was well deserved since she used that fact to her advantage, as well as Yang's punch just now. Despite said punch, Naruto was smiling because they were using every advantage they could get and not giving him any room to retaliate. A series of white glyphs then appeared all over the place, and out of one of them, Weiss came flying out, Mertnister in hand to follow up Yang's punch. 1 slice, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 slices later a chunk of Naruto's aura had been taken out in a matter of seconds thanks to her use of those glyphs. Don't let him recover. Yang all but screamed through the punches she was sending at Naruto, every single one of them landing against his defense. One final punch was sent, and this one, Naruto managed to spin around, which Yang wasn't expecting, and as a result, she nailed a charging Ruby in the face as she was going in for the final blow. Shit. Naruto exclaimed as he realized what happened. Ruby? Yang hollered out in horror. Despite the punch, Ruby used that momentum to her advantage and hooked crescent rows around the back of Naruto's neck as she gave the Sai the good yank, pulling him forward while also using that momentum to send her airborne with a well-timed shot from her side. Positioning the weapon behind her, Ruby fired off another round and shot towards the ground. Betting the idea while pushing her fears aside, Yang shot off a round from Ember Celica to give her uppercut a bit more power and sent Naruto skyward towards her sister, while Blake tossed Gamble Shroud up and wrapped it around Naruto's right ankle in preparation of what was about to come. This is gonna be painful, Kurama muttered. Stop toying with them, Naru. Wreck them, make them bow, goddammit. Kira fumed. This is what I wanted to see, the day that Yang, Weiss and Ruby could all stand up to me without reservation, without hesitation. I'm proud of them. Naruto inwardly mused to his two tenants. Just moments from impact, Ruby shifted the rose into its shotgun form and all but body checked him while midair, and as she did so, she fired off one last round to add to the speed of descent, just as Blake also pulled on the string still wrapped around Naruto's ankle, adding to the descent speed even more, and then crash. The crater bigger than Purr's was carved into the ground and therein 2 bodies could be found. Naruto began coughing out the dust and dirt that he had inhaled and just then noticed the sound of beeping coming from his scroll. Reaching into his right pocket, he checked the device, and sure enough, his aura was in the red zone. I'll be damned, he managed to chuckle, then felt another weight on top of him. Glancing down, he saw the mop of red hair that was Ruby, and she had her arms locked securely around him and her head buried into his chest. He tried to stand, but she was having none of that. Ruby gotta stand. He whispered to her. After 3 years, she managed to say in a choked up voice. 3 years of not knowing where you were, 3 years of worrying about you, 3 years of getting over you, you walk right back into my life at this point. Her shoulders began to shake, a sign that she was now crying. And the one moment you decide to walk back in, why you walk in as a criminal. An enemy. She began to wail. Naruto looked down and away from her in shame as he balled his hands into fists. You fought me, you knocked me out easily, and then you disappeared again. I had to find out from Ozpin that you refused his request, you had abandoned me again. Yang merely watched on in silence, periodically nodding her agreeance with her sister's words, while Blake stood to the side and only listened to the younger girl. Even Weiss was brought to heel by the passion in Ruby's words. But here you are not 3 days later, saying that you've changed for the better, and it was thanks to my words that night. I don't care if you want to stand, I need this. You left in the middle of the night without saying goodbye, without telling me where you were going. I was heartbroken. I was devastated. The person I looked up to the most had all but dropped me, and yet here he is again at this point. She looked up at him with her big red puffy eyes that Naruto still considered beautiful, despite being bloodshot and the tear streaks. And never leave me like that again, please, Naruto. Don't let me go ever again. In response, Naruto sat up and immediately pulled the Reunited into a tight embrace. She sat upon his lap, safely secured within his arms, and for the first time in 3 years Ruby let her emotions out. She wailed out the years of worry she had pent up after Naruto left, the years of anguish over not knowing what had happened, but most of all she wailed and cried out her current happiness that he was finally back. He now knew why he turned so easily. Naruto now knew his purpose for fighting again. He had once promised Ruby that he'd never make her cry and that he'd protect her so she'd never have to cry again. Those were days in the past when he was still an idealist. But now, with her in his arms once again, crying her very soul into the fabric of his duster and shirt, he knew he had a purpose once again. Ruby, Naruto whispered down to her. I'm never leaving you again. Never. I'm staying by your side. I'll be your Black Knight while you be my Red Queen. He then tightened his hug as if for emphasis. I swear it, I promise it, I'm here to stay, believe it. At hearing his words, Ruby buried her head deeper into his chest and began crying even harder, hearing the truth in his words and feeling his arms tighten around her slender frame. She knew he was never going to leave her again, she knew that she had her Naruto back, hers. What went unnoticed by everyone there was Ozpin smirking behind the scroll he was holding. He could see their two auras, and what he was witnessing was nothing short of beauty itself. Their auras, one black and the other red, were resonating with each other in perfect sync, as if their very souls had reached out and touched one another to the very core. He knew it was the deepest kind of connection that formed between two people that deeply and truly cared for one another. This resonation, once over, left its mark upon their auras. Naruto's previously all-black aura now held a spot of red held within the maelstrom of black, and Ruby's held a spot of black within the rose gardens of red. They were marked, they just didn't know it yet, and Ozpin was content to let things play out naturally. Oh, how he did love to observe situations like this and then silently laugh at the potential awkwardness of what was going to happen sooner or later. Beacon Academy. 3 days later. You're rather smiley today, sis. Yang remarked as the foursome that was now known as Team RWBY walked to their first class of the semester. She's been smiling every day for the past 3 days. Blake deadpanned without looking up from her rather raunchy book called Ninjas of Love. Ever since she and the delinquent had their bonding session after the battle. Weiss huffed while forcing herself to even refer to Naruto at all. Naruto's not a delinquent. Ruby turned and pointed an accusing finger at the heiress. You fiend. Offending your boyfriend already, are we? Yang smirked. You like older guys, sis. I didn't know you were kinky like that. Yang, stoop. Ruby began to whine while keeping the accusing finger pointed at Weiss, her previous attempt at being serious now lost. Seriously, though? Blake decided to chime in. You have been smiling a lot. I dunno. The Reunited shrugged as she began walking with her team once again. I've just been feeling happy is all. Warm, even. Well, I'm happy that you're happy, sis. Yang also shrugged as she threw an arm over her sister team leader. Besides, we both have cause to be happy. Naru's back and he's here to stay. I'm just happy that we actually made it to class. Weiss muttered. We're already late enough as it is. She then opened the door to find all eyes on her and the rest of Team RWBY. Bit of Team RWBY to join us. Came the voice of their professor. Silence. Pin drop silence befell the 4 girls as they gawked at who their professor was. There stood Naruto with a giant grin on his face and his arms folded across his chest. What? Was the collective response of all 4 girls. This only served to widen Naruto's grin. Class is in session. Chapter 6. Rose petals, indeed. Just what the hell were you thinking? Screamed Garnet as she stared down Naruto, who had just returned from his mission to Beacon just a few minutes ago. It had been nearly a week since he had settled in quite nicely into his new job as both a huntsman and a professor, and as fate would have it, word reached Cinder almost immediately, and she was livid. Rather than massacre Naruto's team, she indulged her merciful side and allowed them to meet with him to try and bring him back. Oh, how she underestimated the architect's wit and silver tongue. I made a decision and I'm standing by it, Naruto stated firmly. I finally have a real purpose again, and I can see that Cinder's plans will bring nothing but war and ruin to Remnant as a whole. Surely you all can't see that as well. What she means is Iago rubbed his temples. Why didn't you consult with us first before making a decision this big? He's right, Naru. Topaz agreed. With you gone, we have no figurehead. The shepherds have no leader. The shepherds, the name of their little group, named such because of their initial goal to stand up for the people who couldn't stand up for themselves. Happier times, they were. Iago, Naruto said, turning to his friend and brother in all but blood. You take over. I can't do that, Naruto. Iago said, shaking his head. I swore I'd be your man until the day I died, and I meant it. If you're really dead set on staying with Beacon, then I'll be following you. I will as well. Ellie chimed in. You need another heavy hitter over there anyway. Frost. You've been rather quiet. Naruto finally turned to his fellow Faunus. Oh. Frost growled. Leave, if that's what you want. You're one of them now, you don't need me anymore. Go, and become a puppet of the system, I'll have nothing more to do with you. Frost. Topaz chastised the boy. This is your best friend you're talking to. Is that what we are, Naru? Frost asked. Because I swore best friends were supposed to back each other up, not stab one another in the goddamn back. At this point, he stood from the table he was sitting at and flipped it on end and got right into Naruto's face. Because that's what you've done. You're one of our oppressors now, and what's worse, you've betrayed your own kind. Then it looks like you should join the Fangs, doesn't it? Naruto growled back, not flinching in the slightest. Go and join those disgraces for all I care. But is that what you really want, Frost? To become a terrorist? Ha! Frost suddenly burst into a small fit of laughter. Isn't that what we already were? I don't see the difference. Whether I stay here or join the Fangs is irrelevant, you're the real traitor here. That's enough, Frost. Iago stepped in. You've made your stance abundantly clear, so just back down while you still can. You all can just fuck off. I'm done, I've had it. Frost finally exclaimed, throwing his arms into the air in defeat. Anyone else have anything to say? Naruto asked while pushing back his demonic blood and the urge to rip Frost apart then and there. I'm in. Topaz said. I'll go with you all. Azumai Garnet agreed. We both owe you a lot, Naruto. It's time we started to pay you back. You're all alone now, Frost. Iago commented. Just like I found you alone again. Naruto also commented while narrowing his eyes. You gonna put your pride to the side and come with us, or is this goodbye? Fuck you, Uzumaki. Frost growled out. Fuck you, fuck all of you. I'll do this by myself, I don't need you all. Against my better judgment, I'll let you live just this once. Naruto began. I owe you at least that much for what you've done for us, but if we ever meet again at this point, he let his cerulean blue eyes turn into a deep red color and he bared his fangs. I'll tear you apart, rip you to shreds, I will annihilate you, completely and utterly. He had let his voice dip into its demonic tones as well, just for added emphasis, though only Frost saw it, as it was a Majin directed solely at him. After dropping the Majin, Naruto let out one last growl and turned on his heel, headed out the door, with the rest of the shepherds trailing him, leaving Frost alone in the room. Outside the warehouse. A few minutes later. That could have gone better. Topaz sighed. Frost made his choice. Iago commented. He was always too idealistic for his own good, putting the good of his species over his own common sense. Just like those asshole white fangs. Ellie spat out the name of the group. So, what are we gonna do now? Queried Garnet. We get you all to Beacon. Naruto answered as he opened the door of his Impala and promptly entered the vehicle before slamming the door shut. With me to vouch for you all, Ozpin should let you all in. You heard him. Iago barked out. Mount up. The sound of engines being fired up soon filled the air, mingling with the roar of Naruto's Ansatsu. Iago's choice of vehicle was a customized two-door 69 Mustang Fastback that had a supercharged engine, bulletproof tires and light armor plating over the hood with a chrome red paint job. Topaz and Garnet's co-owned car was a Ferrari 488 with built-in nose injectors, bulletproof tires, tinted windows and a metallic gray paint job. Ellie's bike was a Kawasaki Ninja 300 that also had nose injectors and was colored mainly white with a bit of red splashed in here and there. With all of the vehicles fired up, Naruto hit the gas on his Impala and began the drive to the landing pads where an airship would pick them up to take them to Beacon proper. Almost immediately, he could hear the manual transmission in Iago's Mustang changing gears, followed by the roar of its engine as he was passed. Son of a bitch, Naruto chuckled to himself. He's starting a race between the 5 of us. I'm game, fuck it. In response, Naruto kicked it into high gear and floored it, quickly gaining the lost ground. The sound of the twins' Ferrari soon joined the fray, its newer, sleeker engine being drowned out by the 2 muscle cars, followed by the piercing noise of Ellie's bike as she used its slender frame to her advantage and shot down a back alley as a shortcut, leaving the 3 cars in a deadlock on the road. Shit, Naruto began to mutter to himself. He was on the left while the twins were on the right, leaving Iago sandwiched between them, making it a bit easier to move, but by only a small margin. Luck, however, favored him. Suddenly pulling the handbrake, he turned his car into a hard left turn, just as the road leading into the docks opened up into a wider road which led to the highways. He was the first to capitalize on this, as when his car was lined up, he floored it once again and shot off, leaving Iago and the twins in the figurative dust. From there, it was rather smooth sailing. Naruto weaved through the midnight traffic expertly, continuously for a few minutes until he smirked when he saw Ellie in the distance, on the same highway he was on. After weaving through a few more cars, Naruto and Ellie were suddenly neck and neck. Glancing to her right, Ellie smirked beneath her helmet as she suddenly shot forward slightly into a wheelie and turned so she was directly in front of Naruto. Clicking his tongue, Naruto pulled into the right lane, knowing that this would be a game of leapfrog, and then he had an idea. Smirking as he put it into action, Naruto pulled into another lane like he was going to continue the game of leapfrog when he suddenly pulled into the opposite lane, which was fairly empty, then floored it and passed a stunned Ellie, who was quickly passed by Iago and the twins, who had just caught up. They were in the home stretch now. At the end of the highway was the turn-off that led to the landing pads, and Naruto was currently in the lead and was also currently furthering his lead. It was a foregone conclusion. Naruto howled in victory as he pulled into the parking lot and then into the cargo bay of the waiting airship, where he then waited for the rest of the shepherds to roll in. "Fuck you." Ellie screamed out as she parked her bike inside the cargo bay and slipped off her helmet. "Just fuck you. I had this thing won. If we started out in a more open area, I could have won." Iago added his 2 cents as he also parked his Mustang. "Gotta agree with Iago." Garnet added as she and Topaz exited their Ferrari. "Still though." Topaz smiled. "Been a while since we all have had a good race like that. And it looks like I'm still the best racer here." Naruto bragged as he leaned on the hood of his Impala. "I'll take my trophy right now." This made Topaz blush, something that didn't go unnoticed. "You're blushing, pause." Iago commented. "We made a bet." Garnet began to chuckle. "Naruto, if you had lost, I would have to kiss you, and if you won, well." Whoa. Naruto began to protest. "Have I no say in this?" Pause, "If you don't want to kiss me, you don't have to. I really don't mind." "He's still nervous about kissing a girl," Ellie teased through her stifled chuckles. "It's just that I haven't been kissed ever since." Naruto stopped himself, not wanting to bring it up as it was still a fresh wound. "Still." Topaz said. "I made a bet and I'm obligated to go through with it." "Really?" Pause, "You don't have to." Naruto's words were suddenly stifled by Topaz quickly leaning upwards while she captured his lips with hers. "Well, then," Kurama hummed. "This is interesting. She's not our friendly neighborhood cat Franus," though Kira grumbled while crossing his arms over his chest. "You really want that ship to sail, don't you, Kira?" "Oh, you have no idea, furball." Topaz was kissing him. Huh. Well, this was a predicament. Though, she was really trying. Fuck it. Naruto inwardly threw the rulebook out the window and snaked his hands around her waist while pulling her flush against him while she ran her hands through the ocean of yellow that was his hair. Both teens had their eyes closed and both teens had their tongues hopelessly entwined with each other's. A few more seconds followed before the kiss was broken and the two separated, hot blushes tinting their cheeks. "Damn." Ellie chuckled out. "I never knew my little sister had it in her." Garnet smiled. "Just gonna save these for later," Iago muttered as he saved the couple of pictures that he took and slipped his scroll back into his pocket. "Oh Naruto exclaimed. "Delete those." "Blackmail, my friend." Iago replied with a smirk. I kissed Topaz began to mutter while steam seemed to leak out of her ears. "You did at that." Ellie put a hand on the girl's shoulder. "And it was a rather hot kiss as well." "Good job." Pause. "I'd like for this to not become a regular thing, please." Naruto interjected. "Not that I didn't enjoy it, mind you, it's just I'm not that kind of guy." "You're still so complex, Naru." Garnet noted. "Come on, if not my little sister, then who? Anyone we'd know." "You might or might not know her." "Yang?" "No, not Yang." Naruto sighed while rubbing the back of his head. "Let's get to Beacon first, then you all can discuss my love life all you want." Beacon Academy. Ozpin's office. Half an hour later. So Ozpin hummed as he looked over the 4 remaining shepherds who were loyal to Naruto. "These are your friends?" "Yes sir." Naruto confirmed with a nod. You should know who they are already. Indeed. Iago Verde, Ellie Violetta and the Evans twins, Topaz and Garnet Evans, though I noticed that you're one off. Where is Mr. Schwartz? Frost and I had a disagreement. He's no longer a part of the Shepherds and he's now considered an enemy. I see. Very well. Naruto, if you vouch for these four, I'll allow them into Beacon and wipe their slates clean, like I did with you should they accept, of course. We will, sir. Iago spoke for the group. We all owe Naruto a lot and we all think it's time we start repaying him. Very well, Mr. Verde. Welcome to Beacon Academy, all of you. Glinda is waiting outside for you all and she will show you all to your new lodgings. With a nod from Naruto, Iago turned on his heel and led the other three back into the elevator. Very ruthless of you, Naruto. Ozpin commented after the door to the elevator closed, declaring a former comrade an enemy. Whatever needs to be done, sir. Naruto shrugged. Someone needs to play the part of this academy's darkness. It might as well be me since I know it better than anyone. You don't have to live that life anymore, Naruto. You're a huntsman now and a professor at this academy. And I also heard that the councils were less than thrilled about learning that my slate was wiped clean, especially the Atlesian Council. I also heard that Vale's council threatened to have you fired for taking me in. You heard correctly. It is true that by taking you in, I have somewhat weakened my own integrity and standing with the kingdoms and their councils, but I believe you are worth the risk. You are a very rare person, Naruto. You have seen both sides of the spectrum. You have experienced both the light and the darkness, and you have emerged more powerful and wiser for it. Not many people can say that they have done such, and that's what makes you intriguing. It also helps that you know your way around most weaponry and can hold your own against people and creatures many times your greater both in stature and in skill. You may be a mere 17 years old, but you have the experience of someone that is well into their 40s or 50s. I took you in, despite knowing what might happen, because I knew you'd be worth it. And have I proved to be worth it so far? Naruto asked, genuinely curious. Far and beyond my initial expectations, my boy. Ozpin managed a hidden smile. Now, I believe that you have classes to teach in a few hours, so I'll let you get on top of that. Thank you, sir. Naruto politely bowed to the older man. That morning, Beacon Gymnasium. Before classes. A series of grunts and yells echoed through the gym as two people sparred against each other. Try as she may, Yang couldn't touch him. Naruto was just too fast for her. She sent a few more punches his way before Naruto easily weaved his way through them, then caught her bare fist with his left hand, grabbed her by her left shoulder with his right, and took her down with a right leg sweep. Try better next time, Yang. Naruto panted out as he extended his hand to help her up off of the padded floor. Wear a damn shirt next time and maybe I won't get distracted. She resisted the urge to purr. Or not, more eye candy for me. Naruto was currently nude from the chest up and he had removed his gloves to make it a fair spar, leaving him in only his cargo pants and boots, while Yang was wearing an orange tank top that had her crest emblazoned in the center and black yoga pants that were as distracting to him as his bare chest was to her. I could say the same about your yoga pants. Naruto shot back with a small smirk. An ass like that should be a registered lethal weapon. BFFT, you always were a tit man, Naru. You're not fooling me. Yang retorted while folding her arms under her breasts for added emphasis. Boy, I like what I like. Ass or tits, it doesn't matter to me. If a girl doesn't have a solid personality, however, it's a turn off. I thought we were here to spar, not discuss your fetishes. The fetishes are your thing, firecracker. A sudden pall of silence then befell the two blondes as the mention of that pet name brought on a slight awkward pause. Now that you mention it, Yang began, breaking the silence. Rubes had her moment with you, but I didn't. Yang. Suddenly, Naruto was slammed in the right cheek by a hard left hook from Yang that actually caught him off guard and managed to crack a tooth. Why the fuck did you leave? Yang fumed, her eyes now red. And why didn't you at least say something to me before you left? I had my reasons, Yang. Naruto answered, his healing factor taking care of the cracked tooth. That's not much of an answer. I need to know why, damn you. I deserve to know why. It's complicated. Naruto shot back. I left because I had to, because I felt like I needed to. And why did you need to? What was so damned important that you had to abandon your fucking girlfriend? And there it was. It was finally said. The fresh wound had begun to bleed again. Naruto lowered his eyes and bit his bottom lip. I had to, Yang, he began. I had to leave and that meant leaving everything behind, even you. Do you have any idea what you did? Yang began to fume once again. Ruby was heartbroken that you left, Dad was disappointed, and I lost the light of my life, the one thing that kept me going. She then clenched her hands into fists. I was a 14-year-old girl, and yet, even with my inexperience on the topic I knew, right from the word go, that I loved you, Naruto. I was your little firecracker and you were my wild fox. For the first time in my life since mom left in Summer's death, I was happy. You made me happy, you made me smile, you were the most amazing person I had ever met, and then you just left. Without a word in the middle of the night, you left us. You abandoned me and left me to get over you for the next 3 years. Yang, I know I fucked up. I fucked up big time, I realize that now. And I know that I can never make it right or make it up to you. Whatever. Yang hissed out as she picked up her gym bag. You're gonna have to work for my forgiveness, Naru. Work for it, impress me, make me remember exactly why I fell in love with you in the first place. Think you can handle that, Professor? And with not another word spoken, Yang left him standing there. He knew she was running away from her troubles, it was her defense mechanism, along with the humor, puns and flirting. He knew her well enough to know that she was covering up her pain with so many other layers of protection. He'd leave it alone for now, let her cool off. Oh, shit. Naruto then realized. I got classes to teach today, damn it. Combat class. Half an hour later. These late Blake deadpanned as she flipped the page of her book, another installment of the Ninjas of Love series. So does this mean we can do whatever we want? Ruby asked. Hardly. Weiss scoffed. This is still an academy, and as such, there's no room to fool around like a bunch of hooligans. Always so stingy, Ice Queen. Yang commented before yawning rather loudly. And what about you? Blake peeked over the edge of her book. When you returned to Outdorm this morning, you were sweating like crazy, and you had his stench all over you. She could barely contain the jealousy, but somehow she managed to keep her voice even. If you're saying I was getting some extra study time in with him, you're wrong. Yang defended while crossing her arms under her breasts once again. He's coming. Ruby finally said. How do you know? Weiss asked, this time genuinely curious. I dunno, I can just feel it. He's gonna walk through the doors in 3, 2, 1. And on cue, Naruto came running through the doors while slipping on his duster and tightening his utility belt at the same time. Yo. He greeted his students. Sorry I'm late, a black cat crossed my path and I had to take the long way around. That's a blatant lie. Weiss blurted out with a tick mark forming on her head. Blake went back to reading her book, silently brooding. You're late. Ruby pointed an accusing finger at the blonde professor. Thank you for that, Kakashi-sensei, now I'm turning into you. Naruto inwardly berated himself for the excuse while nervously scratching the back of his head. So, today I believe I said we'd begin with the spars, right? Yes, Professor. Pura answered dutifully from her spot in the stands. And you were rather excited about it as well. That, and Peters brought the rivalry between Weiss and Ruby to my attention. He wants me to deal with it if I can, but steps are being taken regardless, as Naruto inwardly mused. Might as well head it off. He's planning something. Ruby again blurted out from nowhere. Okay, this is getting kinda creepy, sis. Yang admitted. First you know when he's gonna walk through those doors over there down to the last second, and now you know that he's planning something. I can't explain it, Yang. Ruby defended. Honestly, I can't. I don't know what's going on. And I also seems like Ruby has no idea what happened between us. I don't know whether that's a good or bad thing, but one thing at a time, Naruto. One thing at a time. Naruto mentally sighed before clapping his hands together. Alright. To start thing off, John, Ren. You two will be the opening performance. Cinder's base. Same time. How dare he? Exclaimed Cinder as an inferno seemed to surround her thanks to her dust inlays. I give him a chance to come back and he spits in my face a second time. Yeah, how do you think I feel? Frost asked while standing well away from the flames. It seems like he's spited us both. What are we gonna do about it? The name is going straight to the top of my hit list. He may be the architect, he may be the mad fox, but he's made an enemy of the queen. He will die. As long as I'm the one to do it, then I agree. Frost, you will be taking his place. Cinder began while calming herself down. You're the last of the shepherds that are loyal to me. Can I trust you? I'm not Naruto, Cinder. I'm not a traitor. As long as you'll have me, I'm yours. Very good, then I need you to go meet up with Emerald and Mercury. Help them with the White Fang Alliance. Right. Frost nodded before walking out. Waiting until she was alone once again, Cinder then pulled out her scroll and dialed a number, then switched the device over to speaker. Speak. Came a slightly distorted voice from the other side. It's as you thought, Cipher. Cinder sighed. The architect has betrayed us. No matter. I saw this coming. It was only a matter of time until the architect showed his true colors. What is our next course of action, Cipher? We wait, Queen. We bide our time, gather our strength, and let the architect think he's escaped us, lull him into a false sense of security, then, and only then will we enact our plans. Of course, Cipher. I'll be in touch, Queen. Keep me posted. Beacon. An hour or so later. Dawn Arc vs Lai Ren, winner. Ren. Naruto muttered to himself as he took notes of the wins in his scroll. Cardin Winchester vs Kyle Arc, winner. Cardin. Russell Thrush vs Dove Bronzewing, winner. Russell. Nora Valkyrie vs Yang Xiaolong, winner. Draw. And currently, Puranikos vs Blake Belladonna. He then glanced up from his scroll and immediately his eyes widened at what he saw. Blake was standing behind Pura with Gamble Shroud's pistol form pointed at the back of her head, while Pura seemed shocked that she was in this situation. Apparently, Blake had used her semblance to her advantage and managed to get behind Pura and her shield. Surprising, to say the least. Winner, Blake. Naruto announced as he noted that in his scroll as well. You both did good, damn impressive. You may return to your teams. As Blake returned to her spot, Naruto caught her eyes for a moment and it seemed like his heart skipped a beat, then out of the corner of his eye, he saw Ruby's head whip around to his direction, as if she felt his now slightly disturbed thoughts. Shaking himself out of his funk, Naruto called the last two remaining competitors. Last round, Weiss vs Ruby Rose. Get down here you two. Finally, a chance to prove my superiority to our supposed leader. Weiss mentally cheered as she rose from her spot and took the stairs down. You got this, sis. Yang encouraged her little sister. With me luck, I guess. Ruby shrugged as she rose and hopped the railing separating the raised stands from the arena below and landed in a crouch with crescent rows already deployed. Weiss then emerged from the stairway brandishing Mertnister and she soon got into position across from her team leader, a confident smirk on her face. You both know the rules. Naruto's voice reigned over the silence. Either go until either of your auras are in the red or until either of you are in a position where you can't fight back anymore. Good luck to the both of you and you may begin whenever you're ready. Despite Naruto's okay to fight, neither girl moved. Their eyes were locked in a test of wills and the first one to hesitate would most likely be the first one to fall. During this stare down, Ruby's right eye twitched slightly and that was enough of a provocation to begin. With the help of her glyphs, Weiss charged forward in a glide as if she was skating on the floor itself and lunged straight at the Reunited in front of her. In response, Ruby positioned crescent rows behind her and fired off a round while twisting to the side slightly so she'd miss being impaled while also ramming her left knee into the heiress's stomach. This, much to Weiss's surprise, was actually successful and the air was quickly ejected from her lungs thanks to the impact. Seeing another opportunity, Ruby then brought the blunt end of Crescent Rose's half down onto the back of Weiss's head while also rearing her left knee back for a second strike. The haft connected and lightly dazed the knee, but the second knee was substantially weaker than the first, so Weiss was able to bring up her left hand to catch it just in time and promptly pushed it back, throwing Ruby off balance in the process. The next thing Ruby felt after being thrown off balance was the cold steel of Mertnister's hilt being rammed into the underside of her chin in an impromptu uppercut, which sent her stumbling back. Flipping Mertnister around back into a proper grip as opposed to the reverse grip she was just holding it in, Weiss charged forward again and locked Ruby in place with a black glyph, then gracefully slid past a Reunited with a lunging stab and then another before the black glyph wore off and Ruby began her counterattack. Swiping another thrust to the side, Ruby spun Crescent Rose around and hooked it behind Weiss's head, then pulled the heiress into a straight heel kick to the face. Not wanting to be outdone, Weiss had one of her glyphs appear behind Ruby and almost instantly, Weiss had disappeared, then shot out of the glyph at breakneck speeds, scoring yet another thrust, then disappeared into yet another and launched into a combo similar to the one she used against Naruto in initiation. Weiss is going for the finisher now, it seems, Naruto mused. Come on, Ruby, fight. Crescent Rose had been knocked out of her hand, the onslaught of hits continued, Weiss was way too fast when using this particular move. All Ruby could do was tank it and hope for the best. Come the final hit, Ruby was sent flying, where she landed flat on her back, Crescent Rose a few yards away from her, nearer to Weiss. Call the match now. Weiss advised Naruto. Her aura's about to enter the red and I don't feel like making this a complete squash match. Then no. Ruby declared while rising to her feet. I'm still fit to fight. There's your answer, Ice Queen. Naruto responded with a smirk. Foolish little girl. Weiss barked out. Can't you see we're leagues apart? Can't you see that I'm the better fighter here? Can't you? Can't you see that you've already lost? Came the deathly whisper of Ruby from directly behind Weiss, who had literally just blinked and the Reunited had disappeared. Time for you to taste real speed. /1/2 3 4 5 10 20 40 80 How was she this fast? How was she just this good? You decided to run your mouth instead of finish me, Weiss. Ruby yelled over her insane combo. A real huntress would have finished the fight then and there, not taunt her opponent. You gave me the opportunity I needed to focus in on my semblance. This can't be happening. Weiss managed to say throughout trying to block the incoming strikes. That's what, princess? you lose. One last shot was fired off from Crescent Rose, and this last shot sent Ruby into hyperspeed. She had crossed the distance between her and Weiss in an instant, and the strike happened so suddenly that the monitors that were tracking their auras delayed for a few seconds, but by that point, Weiss had fallen flat on her face, and once the monitors did indeed catch up, Weiss's aura read a perfect 0. Winner Ruby rose. Naruto managed to say, though he was as shocked as everyone else was. I lost, Weiss muttered, eyes widened. Get up, Weiss. No real damage was done. Well, your pride may be shattered right now, but I say it's about time you got a wake-up call. Naruto then turned his attention to Ruby, who was trudging her way over to him, seemingly exhausted from using her semblance for an extended period of time. How did I do, Naru? She asked through her breaths. You made me proud, shorty, real proud. The blonde responded with a smile. I'm not short. She tried to manage an angry face, but it ended up looking more like a cute pout, which made Naruto laugh. Right. Naruto managed to stifle his chuckles. You've improved a lot, Rubes. You're growing into a fine young lady and can only improve from here on. She could feel the truth in his words thanks to their connection, and he could feel the admiration she was feeling. Again, his heart skipped a beat when he stared into those silver eyes, and this time, her heart also seemed to skip a beat at the exact same time when she locked eyes with those pure cerulean blue orbs that always reminded her of the sky on a clear day. Could this be? No, it's preposterous. Naruto mentally berated himself once again. She's 2 years younger than me. She's like a little sister to me, for God's sake. It would be improper. Or hot as hell, Kit. Kurama interjected with a smirk on his face. Oh my god. Ruby was mentally panicking. He's right here. This close to me. And no. We can't. It'd be wrong on so many levels. But maybe we know. He's my big brother, he dated Yang, he practically helped Yang raise me for a time. We can't. She probably doesn't. He probably doesn't. Love me. They both finished mentally as blushes formed on their cheeks at the same time, now realizing that they could feel each other's nervousness, but laced in with that nervousness was a desire that they both shared, a desire that they both could feel. The bell had already rung and everyone had already left for their next classes, but there Naruto and Ruby stood, alone with each other in the middle of the arena, just staring into each other's eyes. Slowly, against his own will and better judgment, Naruto's right hand gently cupped her left cheek, then moved around and began to caress her blackish-red locks, while her right hand, in response, planted itself solidly onto his chest, and her left grabbed a hold of his left shoulder as if for support. Truly, she needed the support because she felt as if her legs were gonna give out at any moment. And then slowly they began to lean into each other, Ruby shifting herself onto her tiptoes to reach his height and Naruto leaning his head downward a bit. His right hand continued to explore her hair while his left locked itself onto her lower back, pulling her flush against him to the point where their breaths were intermingling with each other. Their auras began to flare up and promptly began to dance around them. Red rose petals danced among the background of black shadows as the two paused and locked eyes once again. Please, Ruby mentally begged. Please, I want to, I don't care if it's wrong, I want to. What am I doing? Naruto mentally questioned. This can't happen, can it? Their auras then began to dance once again, this time at a much quicker pace. Resolve reflected in Ruby's eyes, and that resolve sent a shiver down Naruto's spine. She's serious, the blonde realized. She does. He does. Ruby also shivered at what she was now feeling from their link. At once, their eyes closed and they both leaned in and in an instant, time itself froze as their lips locked in a soft passion-filled kiss. Around them, their auras began dancing once again in perfect unison, their hearts began beating in perfect sync with each other's, their lips moving in perfect conjunction, her arms locking themselves behind his head, his hands locking themselves upon her lower back. Everything was perfect at that moment. The kiss continued on at a slow pace for a few more seconds before Naruto broke it for air. His eyes opened and met Silver once again, and in response, Ruby leaned her head lovingly onto his chest and nuzzled herself into his embrace. This is where I belong, she whispered sweetly. I know where I belong now and this is it. Naruto rested his chin atop her crown and began to softly rub her back. That makes two of us. He whispered back to her. I love you, she finally said. Ever since I met you, throughout your time dating Yang, the time you went missing since the very beginning, I've loved you. I loved you so much it hurt. I was jealous of Yang for getting to you first, and when you returned, I was scared that you had eyes for someone else. I almost did. Naruto admitted. But, as it turns out, it would have been the wrong choice. Ruby, I love you. I love you and I don't want this moment to end. I'm content right now to just holding you. Making up for the lost time. I wouldn't mind if you kissed me again, she muttered meekly into his chest, though he heard it. Say please. Naruto teased, but instead lifted her face to his and kissed her again anyway. Again, it was slow and soft and was over rather quickly as Naruto broke it again. You better get to your next class, Rubes. Oobleck's gonna yell at me for keeping one of his students longer than necessary. Alright. Ruby then, albeit hesitantly, began to run off, but not before turning around. Friday night, after classes, 7 o'clock, don't be late. Wouldn't dare. Naruto responded as he gently clutched his chest at watching his new girlfriend run off. See? Hot at hell, like I said. Kurama smirked victoriously. I guess I could warm up to her, Kira bitterly muttered. I think I made the right choice, guys, Naruto mused. She's just amazing. She makes my heart sing, and she's just pure. Which is what we need if you ask me. Kurama nodded in agreement. We're the dark side of Beacon Academy, we need a bit of light in our darkness, and that girl may just be it. She is it, Kurama. She's the one I just knowed. Naruto then began to make his way to Ozpin's office to turn in the win-loss records of today's matches when a thought occurred to him. How will Ruby and I explain this to Yang? Chapter 7. Look at you, getting all gussied up. Yang smirked from her bed in Team RWBY's dorm. Who's the lucky guy? I'm not gussying up, Yang. Ruby pouted as she adjusted her signature red cloak and straightened out her skirt as best she could. And you'll find out soon enough. Now that you mention it, you've been excited all week, ever since Monday. Blake noted as she crawled into her bed to relax. Something's up, Ruby. What, other than me preparing for a date? That much is obvious. Weiss decided to pitch in. All we want to know is who you're dating. Someone we know? Yang questioned. John. You? No. Ruby suddenly shuddered. John's sweet and all, but no, it's not him. And who? As if answering the question, there was a knock at the door and faster than anyone could blink, Ruby was already opening said door to reveal. Naruto? Blake asked. What are you doing here? Did Yang forget to turn in her homework again? That was only that once. Yang denied. Naruto began laughing nervously while scratching the back of his head. I'm here to pick up my girlfriend. Wanna run that by me again? Yang said after taking in a deep breath to try and calm herself. The lucky guy you were talking about is Naruto, Yang. Ruby confirmed while hugging his left arm. We've been together this entire week and now we're going out on our first date. Bullshit you are. The other blonde raged while her eyes turned red. Normally, she'd never curse in front of Ruby, but she was too far lost in her own anger to even think rationally at this point. I don't know what kind of sick game you're playing with my sister, Naruto, but it ends now. Get the fuck out of here. Yang, calm down. Weiss chastised her teammate. Who Ruby dates is none of our business. Be happy that she actually found someone at all. And that someone happens to be my ex-boyfriend, Weiss. And that's supposed to matter. Things obviously didn't work out between you two and things have obviously changed, otherwise you two would still be together. Yeah, and it's all his fault. He had to leave for seemingly no reason whatsoever and he abandoned me. There's a reason for everything, Yang. Blake counseled, even though her own heart was breaking right now. And if Naruto didn't tell you his reason, then he himself has a good reason for not telling you. Come on, Ruby tugged at his arm. Let's just go. Yeah. Naruto agreed. It's better if we just left for now. Don't you dare walk away from me, Naruto Uzumaki. Yang began to rage again as she swiftly stood to her feet and pinned him to the opposite wall by the collar of his duster. Yang. Ruby exclaimed. What's going on out here? Pura asked as she opened the door to Team JNPR's dorm after hearing the impact of Naruto's back against their wall. You so much as touch her again and you're fucking dead. Yang snarled. Unhand me, Yang. Naruto calmly stated while glaring right into her crimson eyes. Only if you walk away right now. Second warning. Unhand me. Walk. Away. Last time I'm saying it. Get your fucking hands off of me this instant. After glancing down, Yang could see that Naruto was thumbing the guard of the Hisatsu with his left thumb, pushing it in and out of its sheath every few seconds. He was losing his patience and she had just reached the end of his 3-strike rule plus, he was a professor and a full-fledged huntsman, while she was merely a student, what she was doing was insubordination. But did she care? Hell no. Fuck you. She defiantly spat at him. Then I'm writing you up for insubordination and assaulting a superior officer. Continue this further and I'm dragging you up to Ozpin's office personally so he can decide what else to do with you. But this being said, Naruto shoved Yang's hand away from his duster and turned on his heel, his back facing Yang, and began walking away. Then Naru, wait up. Ruby called after him as she made after him and fell into step beside him. She always was a loose cannon, Ruby. He sighed. And as a professor, I have to keep the students in line, no matter who they are. Yang laid hands on me and disregarded my warnings, so now she has to face the consequences. Are you two gonna be okay? I'm not sure, honestly. He sent a look back towards the now livid Yang. I hope we can get past this, but something's telling me that this will only end badly. And I guess I'm not helping things either. It's not you, Ruby. This is between your sister and I. She has 3 years' worth of frustrations built up against me, and now that I've returned, these frustrations are coming to a head. Better she deals with them now than later on the battlefield. Such distractions can be fatal. But the Reunited protested. We kissed, we agreed to start dating, I willingly said yes despite knowing your history with her. Am I selfish? Would you break up with me if I said yes? He sent a smirk down to her. Jerk. She giggled while lightly nudging him. Everybody's selfish in some fashion or other, Ruby. Some are just naturally more selfish than others. In your case, though, you're more selfless than you are selfish, barring our mutual agreement to start dating despite Yang's feelings. Besides, didn't Dad always say I'd look better with you than her? I didn't expect you to take it to heart, though. Ruby blushed. And for the record, Dad said a lot of things that you completely disregarded. So did you, if I recall correctly. Taking up a scythe instead of something more practical. Ring a bell. Hey, Uncle Crow is crazy good with his scythe. I wanted to be just as good as him, if not better. And what happened to the times where you were begging me to teach you how to use a sword properly? I was indecisive. And you're not indecisive now. We are so breaking up. Love you to Ruby. Naruto chuckled. Hold the fuck up. Raged Yang from behind the couple. What is it now, Yang? Naruto groaned while turning to face his fellow blonde. Me? You? Arena. Fight me now. I don't think that's a good idea, Yang. Weiss mediated once again. I'll allow it. Came a new voice, which belonged to Ozpin as he rounded the corner leading to Team RWBY's dorm. Are you sure, Oz? Asked Naruto. Your argument has more or less woken up this entire dorm complex, so I'd say yes, I'm sure. Miss Xiaolong needs to work out whatever issue she has with you. Oh, and drop the reprimands, Naruto. This fight will serve as her punishment for raising a hand against an officer. Yes, sir. But the fight now authorized, the group, after dressing and equipping themselves in the case of teams RWBY and JNPR, had made their way to the arena, where a couple of other teams were getting in some last-minute practice before calling it a day. Team CFVY. Naruto addressed one of the teams. Need something, Whiskers. CFVY's leader, Coco Adele, regarded the professor with a light purr as he approached. Not now, Coco. He lightly groaned, wanting to dispense with the pet names in Ruby's presence. Of course, Professor. She corrected herself, seeing as Ozpin was with them. Anything you need. We need the floor cleared, Coco. I have been challenged to a fight. What Dumbus challenged you to a fight, Teach? Asked Carden as he and Team CRDL packed up their things. Wanna say that to my face, Winchester? Yang growled. The first year fighting out new Professor? Velvet asked. What brought this on? Personal business. Naruto deflected the question. Now, clear the floor. If you want to stay and watch, feel free. Within minutes, the floor was cleared and the arena lights were now shining on the pair of blondes who stood center stage. The metallic clicks and whirls of Ember Celica deploying filled the air while Naruto looked on impassively, somewhat bored if he were being completely honest. You know the rules, Yang. He said. Though until aura is red or until we can't fight anymore, I get it. She growled once again. And I want you at 100%. Don't hold back on me. You're 1,000 years too early to face me at full power, Yang. Naruto said as he slipped his left hand down to the Hisatsu. Yet you're gonna use the shadow imitation. No. Was his simple answer as he took it off of its notch and tossed it over his head into the stands, where Iago was there to catch it with his right hand. I'll look after her, Naru. Iago called out to his friend. Iago. Ruby squealed as she ran and all but glumped him. Good to see you again, Ruby. Iago chuckled as he wrapped his left arm around her. Just when did you get here? Asked a bewildered Weiss. Just now. Word has kind of spread about this fight and I thought I'd show up to see it personally. Nearly half of the academy is watching right now through a live stream. Getting rid of the Hisatsu, Yang growled once again. Do you think that lowly of me that you're gonna purposefully disarm yourself? Fight me with everything you have, goddammit. No. Naruto simply replied once again with an apathetic stare. Now are you gonna bore me to death or are you gonna forfeit? I have a date with a rather cute Reunited and I'd very much like it if you didn't hold me up. You self-centered, arrogant bastard. Yang, having had enough, started the fight with a fireball shot out of her right gauntlet, which Naruto countered by shooting lightning out of his own right glove. Using the cover of the still exploding fireball, Yang charged through it and threw a wild left straight at Naruto's head, to which Naruto brushed aside with his right hand, then fell backwards onto his left hand to avoid the left roundhouse kick that Yang had thrown at him, using the momentum of her failed punch. After pushing himself back onto his feet, Naruto found himself leaning and dodging a series of punches and kicks by a still pissed off Yang as she tried desperately to at least graze him, but his defense was as superb as it ever was. And then she had an idea. Rearing her right hand back for another punch, she smirked when Naruto prepared to swipe it to the side like he had done previously, but his eyes widened in surprise when a fireball exploded in his face. Apparently, Yang had switched Ember Celica over to its projectile mode and she had sent a fireball right into his face. Seeing nothing but flames, Naruto had to jump backwards to put some distance between them in order for his vision to return, but Yang was having none of it. She sent 5 more fireballs into his face, one for each time he backpedaled, and the 6th came not as a solid fireball, but as an actual punch. Everyone looked on in awe of Yang. She had him on the defensive, she had him on the ropes, he was blinded and ripe for the picking. How does it feel? Yang taunted as she threw another punch which landed. You're not untouchable anymore. This is what you get when you get too cocky, kid. Kurama sighed. You may be a Hanyu, but half of you is still human. You can still be beaten. You don't get it, do you, furball? Our Nair is toying with her. Kira began to cackle. He's making the bitch think she can win, letting her think she has a shot, but he's gonna pull that rug right out from under her. Naru, you cruel son of a bitch. I don't believe it, Blake gawked. She's actually winning. Serves the delinquent right. Weiss huffed. Someone was going to put him in his place eventually. She's done for. Iago said, bringing everyone's attention to him. This isn't the first time I've seen Naruto do something like this. She's lost and she doesn't even know it. Excuse me if I don't take you at your word. Came a scoff from Weiss. Iago's right. Ruby cut in. Naruto's about to take action. I can feel it. Take it. Yang screamed. Take your loss. She then sent one final right hook aimed for Naruto's left temple. I win, bitch. It wasn't possible. It just wasn't possible. How did he catch the punch when he was still blinded? Her moment of victory was suddenly and violently cast down at her feet when Naruto caught her punch with his right palm. Cerulean blue met lilac as his eyes opened and he had to suppress a victorious laugh when he saw the utter surprise in those eyes of hers. Like you said, Naruto drawled, his words piercing the dead silence of the arena as he lifted his left hand towards Yang's forehead, his index finger curled back into his thumb. You lose, bitch. And with one flick to the forehead, Yang was sent flying back the entire length of the arena back first into one of the walls, where she recoiled off of and landed face first on the ground, with her aura meter dangerously close to the red. Precise control of his aura is what did it. Ozpin answered for the entire group. With enough time, patience and practice, aura can be turned into a weapon. The most prevalent example of this is a semblance, but in other cases, one can harness their aura in other ways, such as Professor Uzumaki using his aura to reinforce and power up the flick he delivered to Miss Xiaolong. This is one of the many shows of power that separate you students from the battle-hardened professional hunters you all aspire to become. Miss Xiaolong was foolish to challenge a professor to a duel when she lacks the proper experience needed to back up her words. Let this be a lesson to you all. It's alright to be confident, but when that confidence turns to overconfidence and you let your anger overrule your rational judgment, situations like this can occur. You get defeated, or in a more real-world scenario you might even die. Such is the world we live in. Iago agreed with a nod. Take what Professor Ozpin said to heart. She's done. Naruto said as he turned on his heel and began to walk away. Here. Iago called out to him as he threw the Hisetsu. Expertly catching it in his left hand, Naruto slid it back into the notch on his left hip and began walking again, but froze mid-step when he heard footsteps approaching him. Turning around, he saw that Yang was limping her way towards him. Not yet, she managed to say, despite the ringing in her ears and the blurry vision. Can still fight. Fine then. Naruto hardened himself as he crouched into an Iedo stance while gripping the hilt of the Hisetsu with his right hand. Before anyone could raise their voice in protest, he had all but disappeared from view, reappearing a split second later right behind Yang with a drawn Hisetsu, except he was holding it the wrong way around, with the blunt edge out as the primary edge and not the actual bladed edge. Once time caught up with her, Yang fell wordlessly down to her knees before falling face first to the floor once again, knocked out cold with her aura meter completely depleted. But the swipe and a turn of the blade, Naruto once again sheathed it, turned on his heel, and walked away from his fellow blonde without sparing her a second glance. Did he just? Weiss began. No, she's still alive. Iago answered the unasked question. He flipped the blade around just before contact, so the blunt edge hit her instead of the blade itself. It was painful, but better than the alternative. Naruto. Ruby called after her boyfriend before running out after him. Professor Ozpin, do something about this. He just assaulted a student. Weiss said, turning to the headmaster in question. I do believe that Miss Xiaolong was the one who requested this fight, Miss Shni. And she stood up after her aura was depleted, despite knowing what might and did happen. She suffered a direct attack against her person with no aura to take the brunt of it, and you saw the result. Miss Xiaolong consented to this, so the consequences are hers to deal with. I suggest you tend to your teammate instead of arguing the outcome with me. Why is he getting special treatment, Professor? Duel or not, there are rules and boundaries and he crossed one of them. Her aura was depleted and yet he chose to dispatch her with the most lethal weapon he had, albeit he did so with a blunt edge, but even that can cause irreparable damage if appropriate force is put behind the swing. I demand that he be punished. You demand nothing. Ozpin cut a dangerous glare towards the Schnee heiress, which left no room for more argument. I advise you to remember your place here, Miss Schnee. Your name may carry weight all around the world, but inside these halls, your influence ends. Now, go and tend to your fallen comrade. Post haste, if you would. Barely silenced from the stare Ozpin gave her, Weiss did as instructed as an involuntary shiver went through her system upon reflecting upon said stare. The look in the headmaster's eyes was bone-chilling and carried a weight of absolute authority behind it. She hadn't seen such a look in anyone's eyes since Naruto. Weiss finished her own musings as she and Blake hauled Yang to her feet. Those eyes, Yang said through a cough that escaped her. His eyes? Blake asked. Naruto's eyes, I've never seen anything like that before. The look in them, they changed. Just before he hit me with the shadow imitation, there was something wrong about them. Wrong as in? I was afraid. Not just afraid, I was fucking terrified. I thought he really was gonna kill me there, I thought I was gonna die. His eyes were cold. There was nothing inside of them but cold focus and a feeling of dread, of hopelessness. It was like looking into the eyes of a Grimm. He's not a Grimm, Yang. He's just a man, a faunus. And a stare like that is common in hunters. They train to shut everything else out so they can gain more clarity on the battlefield. That was probably what he was doing. Shutting everything out so he made sure he didn't kill you with that blunt force strike. I've seen a stare like that from my Uncle Crow. The stare he gave me was nothing like that. There was an evil behind those eyes, a barely contained evil that was begging to be let loose. I've never seen that look before, especially not from him. He's changed. And not for the better. I've seen that same stare. Weiss admitted. But I won't talk about it here. We wait until Ruby comes back, then we talk. With Naruto. Beacon land pads. Same time. Naruto, wait. Ruby once again called after her boyfriend as she trailed behind him. I need to be alone now, Ruby. Naruto said without turning around as he motioned for the airship pilot sitting on one of the pads to fire up the engines, then made his way into the nearby parking garage. Don't just shut me out. Let me help. I don't need help. He denied while again refusing to look at her as he approached his Impala and gripped the handle of the door and promptly opened it, but a hand on his shoulder stopped him from entering the vehicle. I don't need to see your face to read you, Naruto. I can feel it. You're torn up because of what you had to do to Yang to get her to stay down. That's not all of it though. His voice dipped down to a near whisper. Then talk. That's what couples are supposed to do. Don't shut me out, Naru, talk to me. Couples. Naruto echoed her words, then chuckled. I'm starting to think that I'm not meant to be happy. Why do you say that? She asked. Naruto, turn around and look at me. Slowly, he did as she asked, and as he turned, he opened his eyes and at once, his blood-red slitted orbs met the pure silver of his girlfriend's. This is what I am, Ruby. He finally said after a few moments of silence. My instincts nearly took over during the fight with Yang, and when I put her out of commission, they did take over, and I very nearly killed her. You're not a faunus, so you wouldn't understand. All I can say to help you understand is that there's a monster living inside of me and he took over. I do understand. She nodded. Yang's semblance is similar, remember? Her rage takes her over and makes her stronger. It's sort of the same for you, right? Only your rage is your base fighting instinct coupled with your faunus blood, and sometime that monster takes over because you lose yourself in the fight. In a manner of speaking. Naruto decided to keep the lie going. I'm dangerous, Ruby. I'm dangerous and I'm scared that one of these days, something is gonna happen to one of my friends, or to you, and it's going to be my fault. I think by deciding to become a huntress, my life is in danger every day, and I'm not scared. So why should I be scared of this? I fell hopelessly in love with you, Naru. She paused to cup his left cheek with her right hand as she closed the distance between them. I'm still hopelessly in love with you, and nothing will ever change that. You could turn into a Grimm overnight, and not only would I still love you, I'd die trying to find a way to bring you back. You mean more to me than you will ever know, Naru, and I hate seeing you like this. Well, Naruto hummed as he softly pressed his forehead against hers. We're both crazy, it seems. I'm crazy for not trying to get professional help, and you're crazy for just dating me. Whatever are we gonna do? See? There's the Naru that I love. The snarky, funny, quirky, suave, overconfident playboy. A smile then settled on her face. Don't forget Burishkaki, hard-headed slowly, he began to lean into her. Arrogant, overcritical, scheming Ruby mirrored his action and began to lean in as well. Head over heels. Deeply in love. Their lips then met in a kiss which once again made time freeze for them. As he pulled her flush against him, their hearts were still beating in sync with each other, and as the kiss went on, Naruto suddenly found it hard to stand and consequentially fell back into the front seat of the Impala with Ruby following suit. The kiss had been broken because of their fall, and they both had to pause because of the new position they were in. She was on top of him. They were alone in the parking garage inside a car. The setting was perfect and their hormones were running wild. With half-lidded eyes, Naruto dove back in for another kiss which Ruby returned as she shifted her position, so her legs were on either side of him, essentially straddling him. As their lip lock continued, Naruto's hands went to work exploring the body of his girlfriend, while hers were lost within his spiky blonde locks. Soon, his hands came to rest on her thighs as they both broke the kiss for a momentary breath of air before resuming where they left off. Minutes of just kissing passed before the kiss started to become more heavy, and soon enough, their tongues were entwined in a battle of dominance which Naruto won, but he soon found himself groaning when Ruby was involuntarily and unknowingly grinding on him. As his eyes started to turn red again, a predatory growl rumbled deep in his chest as he broke the makeout session and suddenly latched onto her neck. Throwing her head back in a moan, Ruby exposed more of her neck for Naruto to work with, and work with it he did. As he was kissing and nibbling at the pale flesh, his hands traced her thighs, the curve of her hips and the firmness of her core, until his left stopped at the clasp of her red cloak, while the other stopped at the middle of her back, where the laces to her corset were tied. The cloak was soon unclasped and tossed into the back seat, while his expert fingers untied the corset strings, and she, in return, took his hisatsu from his waist and tossed that into the back seat as well, followed by his black duster. Once again breaking his kiss, Naruto stared at the hickey he gave her in satisfaction before he tugged at her blouse, now that the corset part of it was untied. Unconsciously, Ruby helped Naruto lift the piece of clothing over her head before it joined everything else in the back seat, and Naruto had to stop once again and marvel in awe. There she was above him in nothing but her skirt, stockings, boots and a red bra which held in check her modest B-cups. His head was hazy, his eyes were now glowing red, and another predatory growl escaped him as he pulled her back in for a fierce makeout session, which was momentarily interrupted by her pulling his shirt off. Things were escalating very quickly, they were both severely aroused, but the difference between them was that Naruto, deep down, knew where this was going to lead, while Ruby was still a virgin in more than one way when it came to matters such as this. He was losing himself to the beast again, and he'd be damned if he let it win this time. Ruby, Naruto managed to say after stopping their makeout session. Ruby, wait. What's wrong? She asked, out of breath. This can't happen. Not yet, at least. We're nowhere near ready and it's too early. We're barely into our first week, we need to wait. Why yeah, she managed to say now that irrational thinking was returning. Not that I don't want this. I do want it, but I just. We need to wait, like you said. She nodded. Yeah. So, can you he motioned to their position. Sure. She blushed at realizing she was still straddling him and slipped off of him, so she was sitting on the passenger side of the front seat and then felt the cold leather against her mostly bare back. You what? He turned to look at her and was once again entranced by her pale skin and the contrasting red bra. Don't stare. She squealed as she tried to cover herself and her blush. My shirt is back there, see can you get it for me? Naruto merely nodded dumbly as he reached back and retrieved her articles of clothing, then politely looked away as she redressed herself. And put your shirt back on. She once again squealed. Okay. Naruto sighed as he repeated the process with himself until he was presentable once again. There, we're both dressed and it just occurred to me that the airship pilot is still waiting for me. Well we do still have that date tonight. But it's nearly midnight, Rubes. He deadpanned. So? It's the weekend, no classes. And we're already here in your car, so I say we make the best of the situation and just have a late night on the town. You're becoming more and more like Yang every day, he sighed and shook his head, then chuckled when she stuck her tongue out at him in a playful manner. It's a date then. He then cranked the Impala up and drove it into the cargo bay of the still waiting airship. After a short flight down to Vale City, Naruto then drove the vehicle out of the cargo bay, where he momentarily stopped in the parking lot of the landing pads. We're stopping here? Ruby asked. No. Naruto denied with a shake of the head. I'm gonna warn you about something. Warn me? I'm a speed demon and I like to push things to their limits, especially my baby here. He then paused to affectionately tap the steering wheel. And a night like this is perfect to test her limits. So. Without warning, Naruto floored the gas pedal and the Impala shot off onto the highway at top speed, with Ruby's screams being drowned out by the engine. I'm breaking up with you. She wailed, which did nothing to stop the cackling of Naruto, who was loving every second of this moment. Laughing, screaming and the roar of the Impala's engine ruled the highway that night, which was the start of their date. One thing was for sure. If Ruby survived the ride in the Impala, she would never step inside it ever again. What if Kyuubi and Naruto were in RWBY? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.